Hello, music fans. Welcome to Bands and Beers with Brennan. I'm your host, Brennan. The band today is King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, the amazing Australian psychedelic rock band that has made 20 albums in 10 years since 2012 and plays in so many different styles you never know what you're going to get. And the beer today is Spice Odyssey, a chai latte stout made by Wellington Brewery. And today my guest is my longtime friend Zandy. How are you doing, Zandy? Want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Zandy. I hi. I don't have anything prepared. But yeah, that's I'm here. I'm excited to talk about King Gizzard. They're one of my favorite bands, and yeah. I guess I should also introduce my beer. It's a blueberry blonde from Broadhead Brewery, and yeah, that's about it. How
Nice.
you doing today, Brennan?
I'm doing well. Ready to dive in to King Gizzard. So, format today, we talked about we're going to do chronological order. We'll talk about each album. And then at the end, you'll have to wait all the way to the end to hear our quick rankings of how we order them. So we're going to leave you in suspense for quite a long time, but we'll try to talk about our favorite songs from each album along the way, like our favorite one, maybe two songs if we have to, if it's too hard to pick one. And with that being said, let's jump right into 12 Bar Brews from 2012. Also, yeah, we're just doing studio LPs, not the EPs, not the live albums. So 12 Bar Brews from 2012. What do you think of this one?
Well, personally, I love this album. I really like how it's got like that kind of like surfer punk kind of feel to it. I think it's a style that they haven't really, you know, done all that much. Apart from like their like really old stuff. But yeah, I think it's like a very like novel listen because it still sounds like them, especially if you've listened to like their later albums first. You can see kind of like the genesis of like stuff sounds like they have in like Nonagon or um like Polygon like kind of later on, but like it has a very unique sound to it that they and a very raw sound that they haven't really done since then all that much. And plus I really like punk music and like kind of really like
Yeah.
this is gonna sound like a weird thing, but like kind of like low quality music.
Yeah,
um
that's true. This
yeah.
does have the like lowest budget production, and it probably is the closest thing to punk, I guess, that they've done before. I didn't really think of it as punk, but I guess it kind of could be.
Yeah. And it just has that kind of like energy to it that I don't think they've really had all that much. Well, I mean, I don't want to say they haven't had all that much, but like, it's got a certain energy to it that they don't really go back to all that much, especially like in recent albums.
Okay, cool. Do you have a favorite song from 12 Bar Brews?
Well, personally, I have a kind of a handful of them because, like I said, I really like this album.
Yeah.
Um, like I think Albo was just a banger of an opener. Like Muck
Yeah.
Tracker is really cool. And my two favorite ones are Oh, I Called Mom and Cutthroat Boogie. I think is just like top tier King Gizzard is Cutthroat Boogie.
Okay. So, I called mom and Cutthroat Boogie. Cool. Yeah, that's funny. Cutthroat Boogie is also my favorite. Well, that's my favorite song from this one as well. I think I like they have a bunch of songs that have the word boogie in it. So that's one of the things that's interesting about King Gizzard is they have like certain songs that even across albums, like sometimes their albums are like have a cohesive feel to each of them and their own cohesive thing. But then sometimes across albums you can see like, oh, this song's like this one for this album.
Oh, we'll get to that.
They have yeah, especially I noticed it especially on Omnium Gatherum, their newest one. But yeah, the boogie one here, I think they have a bunch of songs later that have the word boogie in them, and they all kind of have that boogie kind of feel. So I think that was a cool, nice preview of their future boogie songs. Really fun little song. Um, but my impression of this album, I think it's still like a young band. It's their first album. I'm maybe not as into the whole like garage rock, punk, lo-fi, low production value album sound. I do like that they have the psychedelic influences already starting to show up. It also sounds a little bit like power pop stuff to me a little bit. But I guess spoiler alert, this is probably my least favorite of theirs. I know it sounds like you really like it, but I think they're just finding their footing here. But I do really think Cutthroat Boogie is fun. And I guess I should caveat this by saying I don't think King Gizzard has any bad albums, but there's a couple like this one that I don't really go back to all that much because they don't really excite me too much, or they're not as memorable to me.
Fair enough. But sorry, what did you mean by, like, you said power pop? Like, what did you mean by that?
Like kind of like think of like Foo Fighters.
Okay, yeah.
Or like Weezer kind of vibe where they're like
young Weezer, you mean? Like, not like,
yeah, young Weezer.
like pre-Beverly Hills Weezer, you know? Like that's,
well, even maybe that song. Like I could honestly see King Gizzard making a song like that or something like that. They have a lot of, but it's kind of different because they have a lot more range. Although Weezer does a lot of kind of different stuff too. If you listen to a lot of their, that's a weird band that we'll maybe get into another time.
Let's not talk about Weezer. How about?
Yeah, that kind of sound though, where it's like kind of like it's pop, but it's with like heavy instruments, and it's not really the same thing as pop rock. I don't even know how to define power pop. Now I need to look it up. It's a term that I've heard.
I got you backed into a corner now.
Yeah.
It's only the first album, Brennen.
It's a form of pop rock based on the early music of bands such as The Who, The Beatles, The Beach Boys, The Byrds. Okay. Maybe there's something to what I'm saying.
I mean, I know that like Sam Cherry's Last Shot sounds just like Turn, Turn, Turn by the Byrds. Like it's uncanny. No.
I don't know the Byrds.
Okay. Okay.
I don't really know the Byrds. I know the Beatles and some of their King Gizzard stuff. There's a little bit of Beatles vibe from time to time.
Oh yeah. I mean, Beginner's Luck is just a Beatles song pretty much, but that's
yeah, that's on another album.
That's way later.
All right. Anything else to say about 12 Bar Brews before we jump on?
Not really. I mean, there are a couple songs that I tend to skip when I listen to this one. Like I don't really like Sam Cherry's Last Shot, and I think that Footy Footy is probably one of the weakest closing tracks on any album that they have. But
oh yeah.
But yeah, that's about it.
I should just be controversial with you. Like you said, you like Elbow and Muckracker, but I didn't really find that they were anything special. Like I can barely remember them. I think maybe they're decent. I think in Elbow they say like a over and over again. But yeah, I actually kind of like Sam Cherry's Last Shot. I think that because I think I know why this is, and we're probably going to get to this soon.
It's a good segue I set us up for here.
Actually, it is, because I think Sam Cherry's Last Shot is a nice preview of the style that is to come on their Eyes Like the Sky album, which is this spoken word album over some spaghetti western sounding guitar. And maybe we'll take that segue and jump right into Eyes Like the Sky, which is their second album. What do you think of that one?
Well, how about you go first on this one?
All right, let me jump up to my notes on this one. So I think we're going to disagree on this one again too, because like on the last one, it seems like you like it more than I do. I think on this one, I might like this one more than you do. This is their second album. It's kind of country rock or spaghetti western sounding music, but it's still got their signature garage rock charm, and it's all spoken word. So it's kind of more like an audiobook concept album about like Native Americans and cowboys, kind of that theme. I didn't fully follow the story, actually, to be honest. I'm really bad at listening to lyrics and words, as I've been telling Zandy, but I think I gleaned that the main character is like a blue-eyed, half-native teenager, and I think that's where the name Eyes Like the Sky comes from. I didn't follow the whole story or anything, But my favorite song on here would be Evil Man, which is the fifth song. I like there's like a cool backing vocal melody going like, oh, and it's got this cool main
Like
riff.
da, 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 da.
Yeah. And then it's got some cool guitar runs. It's got harmonica. Pretty fun listen. And I like how I like concept albums in general. So I like a lot of their albums that are kind of more thematic and concept based. And I guess I don't think there was a concept on the first one, but this one has that. And it's just very different and not like any of their other albums. And I can enjoy it for that. And it's really not like anything I've heard before. So I like putting it on. It's an interesting experience. It's not my favorite of theirs, but probably middle of the road-ish. How about you? What do you think of this?
Well, I'll just jump right out of the gate. I think this is the one album of theirs that I actually dislike. Because I just think that musically it's like super repetitive.
Oh yeah.
And that, I mean, like you kind of have to do that, like, because
Yeah.
we'll talk about Murder of the Universe later, but like when they do more like story kind of driven stuff, it's kind of a necessity just to kind of like vamp while the dialogue finishes.
Yeah.
But I think as a result, it just kind of makes it kind of musically repetitive and kind of boring. And um, I don't know. And I think the story kind of just itself wasn't really all that engaging because every time I've listened to it, I would just kind of like zone out and just like at a certain point, I just kind of stop paying attention. So again, just like you, like I don't think I know the entire story. Um, I know that you're never supposed to run towards an Apache. That's what I learned from the story.
Yeah.
Being a white person myself, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. It just kind of ends up being like very kind of monotonous to me. And this is going to be like a running theme towards like my kind of like lower end Gizzard opinions, but there's some kind of albums that they do or some songs they do where I can like get into the vibe of them,
Mhm.
like where they kind of are repetitive, like songs like Rattlesnake. I really like Rattlesnake,
Yeah.
but or even like more recent like Dripping Tap, where it's just like
Yeah.
they have kind of like a couple different things they just kind of like have together and just it's like a 20-minute monstrosity. And I love that, but yeah, like this one I can't really get into the vibe of it, and I tend to just kind of zone out when I listen to it. So my favorite song I think is the opening "Eyes Like the Sky," the title track there.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think as a like a way that it sets the stage for like what's to come, like with like it sounds like the opening to like a Western like TV show,
Yeah.
which I think is kind of cool. Or kind of like a like a curtain pulling up kind of moment.
Mhm.
Um, and even though I don't really like the album all that much, I do think that that like guitar riff in like the down 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 like in the opening is really cool.
Yeah.
But that's about where my like that's where my positive opinions kind of stop for this one. So yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's actually kind of surprising to me that I do like it because I don't usually like anything country-ish, but I just enjoyed it for some reason. I can't explain it.
I wouldn't say it's like country really though. It's more like it's kind of like a Sergio Leone soundtrack, like something you'd hear in like the Dollars trilogy or something, right? Like
Hmm.
where it's like just like a spaghetti western kind of like
Yes,
soundtrack.
right.
Um,
Yeah, it's more like that. Yeah,
yeah,
I
which is
guess.
probably why you haven't really heard much that sounds like it because it's not really a genre of music that's like popular, right?
No, it's not. It's not like modern pop country, but I guess spaghetti western is like a very niche, like subgenre of the
Yeah, well, I
mass
mean, it's definitely not modern pop country because at no point do they talk about like riding tractors or like drinking Bud Lights and
country.
just being creepy towards women. That's
Yeah,
so it's definitely not modern country.
that
But
is good. It would be. There's no way it would. It could be not at the bottom if it. It would have to be at the bottom if it was that for
like
me.
I can't hear Keith Urban talking about this album or like singing this album, you know? Like that's
No.
no,
All
thank
right.
you.
Maybe we'll jump along to album number 3. Or is there anything else you want to say about that one?
No.
All right. Float along, fill your lungs. What do you think about this one?
Well, I have it right here. Yeah.
Nice.
No,
Props.
I just hit my microphone. Yeah, hooray! I spent money on it. Give me praise and adulations. No, personally, I really like this album. For a while, it had one of my favorite tracks on here, Head on Pill. Because I think this is where you could really start hearing the like the future, like where they would go for stuff like Nonagon or like Murder of the Universe, like because I think it's the first album that they use that kind of like God, how do I describe that sound? Like it's like kind of like a really high trill on the guitar. Like the
Yeah, actually, it might be a sitar, is it? Like
no, I'm thinking like where they kind of like slide the pickup or like they do something where it's like they use it all the fucking time on Nonagon. They use it all the time in
yeah, or it goes like
yeah, they use it on Satanic
sliding?
Slumber Party a lot.
Are they just sliding up?
I have
Maybe
no idea. You're the guitar player. You tell me.
I think that's what it is. Just slide all the way up. They just kind of go from the bottom, have maybe a glass slide on their fingers, just go in the
Yeah,
background.
you're the guitar player, so you can.
Just like they always do. Woo!
Well, yeah.
That's part of their thing.
I mean, that's the first woo was on fucking 12 Bar Brews, so like that's
They've started the woos from the very
they
beginning.
they were
Do
there
they
from the
woo?
start. It was foreshadowing.
Do they woo on every album? They
Not Eyes
might.
Like the Sky, I can tell you that.
Really? I feel like they might even do it there. I don't know. Maybe not.
Broderick Smith don't do no woos. Anyway,
But they have the other guys are in the background sometimes doing like
yeah, those are Oz though, not woos.
but they don't do woos, I guess.
Anyway,
Listen to how crazy we sound. We're analyzing the woos.
I mean, it had to happen at some point. So, float along, fill your lungs, though. Is yeah, it for a while it was like one of my like top tier albums. But then I realized that was mostly because of 3 songs that I like really like on there.
Mhm.
Being Head on Pill, Let Me Mend the Past, and Float Along, Fill Your Lungs. Because the other songs, like I don't think I've ever like, had like God Is Calling Me Back Home stuck in my head or like Mystery Jack stuck in my head. I like those songs, but like they're kind of filler tracks in my opinion. But this is a really cool album though, because like they made like a concise effort to make like a psych album and take more of like those like kind of classic psych influences, like you mentioned the sitar.
Yeah.
A lot of kind of like delay, a lot of kind of like post processing on a lot of their instruments. And yeah, I mean, I do like the album, but like I said, it has a lot of filler for me, and like not stuff that I would like specifically skip, like Sam Cherry's Last Shot, but like stuff that doesn't really stick with me all that much. But I still really like the album.
Okay. I agree. I feel like on this one we're probably like feeling the same way about it. Agree. This has still got that psychedelic garage rock sound. I like that they brought the sitar out. And actually, I think we're pretty aligned on songs too. Like the 3 songs that you mentioned are your favorite. Those are all in my top 4 here. My favorite would be Float Along, Fill Your Lungs. And yeah, just a good album closer. I like when they do odd time stuff. I think it's 5 beats per bar on that song. Has the cool sitar in the background, cool synth parts, catchy vocals. And then you also mentioned Let Me Mend the Let Me Mend the Pass and Head on Pill, I think is your other 2, which I like. But there's one other that I like as well, which is probably my number 2 song, is I Am Not a Man Unless I Have a Woman, which is the second song on the album. Just a short, catchy, soft song, groovy bass line. Kind of has like a funky reggae vibe to it, which is cool. Lots of effects on the vocals. I think there's female vocals in this song too.
No, that's Ambrose.
Am I thinking of the wrong thing?
No, that's the right one. It's just Ambrose singing.
Oh, really? Okay,
Yeah.
it sounded like a woman singing.
I mean, he is a very beautiful man though. So I mean, like that's
Okay, so it's just a duet vocal on that song, which I like when they have different vocal sounds. Like, yeah, there are some songs later in their career too where you hear different singers leading on different songs too, which is cool. And yeah, that's really all I have to say about this one. It's, still I still kind of like I just like the sky a little better. Um, but this one's pretty good. I'd listen to it again.
I mean, yeah, like I said, it used to be like kind of top tier, but then yeah, it was like the more that I listened to it, it was like the kind of further it fell down because I think it was propped up by the strength of those like three
Hmm.
songs for me. But
Yeah, I don't think it was ever top tier for me, but it's kind of just like their early stuff is all that we're talking about first. And for me, I feel like they didn't really hit their stride. Like on Not on Infinity for me, like they kind of take off and like it's really becomes a band that I love. Whereas like the early stuff is just like I like it, but
I'll see if you consider pre-Nonagon the early stuff, then ooh, we're gonna have some disagreements.
okay. All right, well let's jump into oddments then.
Yeah,
Do
yeah.
you want me to start? Are we gonna like alternate who starts?
I,
So
I guess we can do that. Yeah.
yeah, I think it's me then. So what do I say about this one? Psychedelic rock again, has more pop and folk influence on here. My favorite song on here would be It's Got Old, which has a nice harmonica in the intro, catchy vocal melody, nice acoustic guitar. Um, this is, yeah, probably my second least favorite of theirs. This is one that like I don't really go back to. This really only this and 12 Bar Brews that I don't really listen to much because they just don't do too much for me. There's some okay, catchy poppy rock songs on here that are fine.
You're killing me right now, Brendan. Oh my god.
That's just how I feel about it. How about you?
Well, for a while, I didn't think that I liked this one. Um, but then I realized I was kind of focusing a lot on the songs I didn't like. It's kind of like a reverse
Mhm.
um of Float Along Fill Your Lungs. Um,
Right.
I'm gonna say this too when we get to Gumboot because I kind of feel the same way about Gumboot as well. But yeah, where I was kind of focusing on like the songs I don't like, where like being Hot Wax, ABA, B, C, D, and Vegemite.
Oh yeah, you didn't like Benjamin. I actually
Well, I mean,
like
it's a fun, stupid song, but like but compared to the other songs, because I really like Stressin', It's Got Old, Work This Time, Sleepwalker, like Crying, Homeless Man and Adidas. Those are all like excellent songs. Um, if you're looking for like one or two, I'd say Stressin' and Work This Time are my two favorites.
oh,
Especially, oh my God, their live version of Work This Time on, I think it's live in Brussels. Oh my God, it's so good. Um,
nice. I'll have to listen to more of the live stuff because I haven't listened to all
oh,
of it.
their live stuff is dynamite. But yeah, I feel like I was focusing more on like the songs I don't like because like the rest of the album is like a total vibe and I absolutely love it. It's I don't think it's enough to be like one of my like favorite ones, but it's definitely like a like upper middle tier album in my opinion.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I think we like a lot of the same songs too. Like I agree with that. Well, A B C D is only like what is it,
It's like 20 seconds or something. It's
17
like
seconds long. So I
yeah.
mean that barely counts. And yeah, I mean Hot Wax. I agree is nothing special. My least favorite is probably Aluda Majaka.
Oh, what? That sounds weird and I love it.
I think it's just an instrumental psychedelic jam. Same
Yep.
bass line the whole time. It's kind of not feeling it too much.
Oh, it has that like cool drum beat. It's got like the organ in it. It's got like all like the weird kind of sounds that are kind of going through it.
Yeah,
You've
maybe. Maybe
disappointed
I'll
me
have to
today,
listen
Brennan.
to it again. Sometimes, like some of these, I have only listened to a few times, so I just kind of my first impressions.
Killing me here, Brennan. Oh my god.
Well, let's jump over to "I'm in Your Mind," Fuzz. I think that's the next one, and that would be their fifth album. What do you think about that from 2014?
Oh, so okay, and I'm starting this one, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, so so you mentioned that you think Nonagon is where they hit their
Mhm.
stride. I think this is where like they like kind of jumped up to new heights.
Yeah.
Because really the only thing that I don't like about this album is the production kind of feels like makes me feel claustrophobic. I don't know why. I think it's like there's like a Leslie effect or something on the vocals for most of it, and it sounds weird to me.
Mhm.
Um, but that's like my only like real negative point because like the first four songs all kind of like bleed into each other, kind of like again talking about how like they kind of have ideas that they kind of build out later on. Like that's a very kind of clear indication of where they would go with like Nonagon and Polygon and even
Mhm.
like Butterfly, right?
Sure.
And like it's just like it has that like bass line that like and that just like kind of
Yeah.
carries through the entire thing that I think is really groovy. But then like other songs like Empty and Hot Water, and especially like the last few songs like Am I in Heaven? I'm just reading off the track list right now, but I think they're all like really cool in their own ways, and I think that it's probably one of the best starting places for if you're trying to get into the band.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool. Did you
and
pick an absolute favorite track?
um, absolute favorite would be well, I think I have two. Am I in Heaven and Her and I Slow Jam. Two.
Okay.
Um, actually, like on this one, they do this thing that I kind of don't like when they do in like later albums. Um, like I think it's Satan Speeds Up. Um,
Mhm.
the sound on the guitar, I really don't like.
Oh yeah. I know
Um,
that there's a lot of guitar effects, but I don't know what they are.
it just sounds like the
Oh yeah.
um
Boom,
because
boom. Yeah, it's kind of that stonery sound on the
yeah, like I'll talk about this more on like later albums, but like it's a sound that I don't particularly care for.
Mhm.
Um, but I think that song is kind of more propped up as well by like the rest of it. Then it has like the cool flute in there. It's got like that those really like high vocals that sound really cool. Like the keyboards and stuff. I think it's a good song apart from that one guitar sound.
Mhm.
But I don't know like the rest of the album though. I think it's a really solid album. I still don't know if it's like I think it's like one of my bubble albums, honestly. But it's like as far as like top 10 goes, but I still think it's a very good place to start for um if you're trying to get into the band.
Cool. Yeah. I I could see why you would think this is where they start to take off and become great. I could hear that. It's definitely for me. It's better than I like it better than all the other ones we've talked about so far, except maybe Eyes Like the Sky because I'm like a sucker for the concept albums. Um, and I think that the first four songs, like you said, flow into each other amazingly. So I got to give them props for that. And my favorite song here would also be Her and I Slow Jam 2, slower jam, as the name implies. And I think the guitar in here is just this like funky, sexy guitar work here. The vocal melodies are great. And yeah, my second favorite is probably Empty. And this is the fifth song on the album. It's the first one where the previous song doesn't exactly flow into it. And I think it's a 6 beat per bar, where the others were all 4/4 before this. So it brings a nice like change in vibe to the album when you get here, and it's a welcome change at that point. The vocal melody's catchy. Yeah, I think it's a pretty good album, but like I said, almost everything until Nonagon Affinity just doesn't quite get into the amazing level for me. So it's good, and I'll listen to it again and again, but I just won't be like mind blown and thinking it's amazing. Yeah.
That's fine. Everyone has their own opinions. I do want to mention as well, this, I think, the first album in the Gizverse.
Oh, cool. I've heard about that, but I haven't followed the whole thing. But I guess
Oh
like
boy, do I envy you. Okay, so um like you mentioned earlier how a bunch of their albums kind of connect. I think, yeah, you'll I'll get into this a bit later, because I'm not entirely sure how this one kind of fits into
right.
the kind of broader scope of things, except for Hot Water. That flute riff comes back in Robot Stop, I think, Nonagon. The da 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 da. Yeah, it's but you'll see, because like the album art looks very similar to like Nonagon's and Murder of the Universes. If you're looking at those right now, I saw you look over.
I have Wikipedia up on this monitor, and I'm bringing it up, and I see the album art. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, and I think there is kind of like a kind of ongoing kind of story arc kind of woven into a lot of it, but I don't know if this is, yeah, I don't know how this one like kind of plays out, but also the opening songs you hear come back in Murder of the Universe in the Lord of Lightning section. So we'll talk about that a little later as well. In part 2 or 3, I don't know.
Yeah, I guess this is a good time to let the audience know that this video might be a little choppy because I'm too cheap of a bastard to pay for Zoom, so limited to 40 minutes per session here. But I think we could squeeze one more album into this part.
I'm seeing the timer right now, Brennen. It's 6 minutes. I don't know about that.
We can talk about quarters in 6 minutes. Let's do it.
Each track is 10 minutes, Brennen. Okay, whatever you want.
All right, yeah. So quarters, I think we can squeeze it in, and then we'll jump to part 2 of this video, which I might stick together all in post. But quarters is their 6th album. It's more psychedelic pop rock. This one has some more jazz influence, I think, and a bit of prog maybe. It's more relaxing than the previous stuff, I think. Yeah, more jazz inspiration than usual. Interesting concept here is that every track is exactly the same length at 10 minutes and 10 seconds. I do not know why it's like that, but it's cool. Some of the songs maybe overstay their welcome a little bit. Like I feel like some of them don't need to be 10 minutes and 10 seconds long because there's just a lot of repetition going on. I feel like songs that are this long should have a lot more diversity. So my favorite song here would be The River, the first song, 5 beats per bar. It reminds me a lot of the classic jazz song, Take 5. But this album is probably my 3rd least favorite of theirs. And with that, I'll hand it over to you.
Okay, well, I see the countdown timer. I gotta be fast about this. So I think this album is like I mentioned earlier, like there's some albums I like vibe with when they kind of just keep going, and other ones that I don't. This is one of the ones that I do vibe with. I do like you mentioned that some of the songs kind of overstay their welcome. I do agree with that. Because I think like there's only one song that really justifies the length, and it's not The River. It's God Is in the Rhythm, which is my favorite song on the album.
Nice. Yeah, that's my 2nd favorite.
But I think the rest of them, like I think like Lonely Steel Sheet Flyer, like has that kind of like really cool groove at the end that just kind of keeps vamping, and like they just kind of like play it out at the end. I think that's really cool. Like Infinite Rise, you didn't really talk about that, but like I think that song is like has a cool kind of vibe to it as well.
Yeah, I think it actually has like the infinite rising pitch sound. It's like an audio illusion where it can sound like a pitch is getting higher and higher forever.
Yeah.
But it's actually just kind of looping around.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I do like The River. It's probably my 2nd favorite song on the album. But I do think by the time it gets to like the last kind of chunk of it, I think it's in I don't remember. I think the ending's in 4 or something. Like the
changes.
but But I think that part kind of like definitely overstays its welcome a little bit. But there is like a really cool live version of this where they kind of like intercut it with some of their other songs, specifically Wawa from Nonagon. And I think it just, I don't know, it's really cool like when they play it live, like other songs and stuff. Brennan, you got to listen to their live albums, man. They're so good.
I'll be seeing them live for reals in October. So
Okay, yeah, but they can't play their entire discography though, Brennan. It's
true.
it's literally impossible.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
We'll be there all day if they did.
yeah, I mean, you wouldn't be able to, have like 12 albums that all focus mostly on Rat's Nest if that were, yeah, anyway. I've got burnt out on Rat's Nest after hearing all their live albums. Anyway, my point being, the live albums are awesome. This album is a chill time. I really like it. And God is in the Rhythm is the best song on it. Fight me.
All right. And with that, we will go off to part 2. Join us again. We're going to have a small commercial break. No, just kidding. And now, a word from our sponsors. Blowforjobs.com. How badly do you want a job? Search millions of jobs where hiring managers are looking to see how far you're willing to go to show you want it. If you're willing to get on your knees to impress the hiring managers, the job will be yours. We've got jobs for women, jobs for men, and everyone in between. No matter what your sexual orientation, we're LGBTQ friendly. You can set your preferred gender for your hiring manager so you know what kind of interview you're in for. Blow for Jobs. If you're not good at much but you're desperate, we've got you covered. Visit blowforjobs.com and use the discount code UNICORN for 40% off. That's unicorn, UNICORN, at blowforjobs.com. Welcome back from that commercial break that may or may not have happened, depending on how lazy I am with video editing. And where we left off was just about to jump into 2015's Paper Mache Dream Balloon. What do you think of this one, Zandy?
I think just like with Your Mind Fuzz, I think this is another kind of like leap in a way for the band. Because it's not like necessarily like lyrically or thematically conceptual, but it's more like kind of tonally conceptual, just like kind of Quarters was, just like Eyes Like the Sky.
Yep.
But where they're all kind of like acoustic songs, they're all shorter songs. And I think it's one of their stronger albums. If we're, spoiling the climactic ending here.
I've been spoiling it along the way. I don't think our viewers have that long.
Yeah. How dare you, Brennen? How dare you? But it's no, I think that the songs on here are a lot of fun. It's cool that they're kind of like shorter songs. They have, I mentioned the acoustic instruments. They all have like a different kind of vibe to them almost, especially in like the back half. Where in stuff like NGRI or Time Is Money, like where they kind of use more like these like harmonica very prominently. They use like flute very prominently. I mean, they do in like a lot of songs, like in like Sense or whatever as well. But like,
yeah,
I don't know what I'm trying to say here. I'm just saying that I really like that it's a very different sounding album to the rest of them. This is going to be a very specific complaint about the album. But on this version that I have here, they have an instrumental like LP that came with it. That's just supposed to be like vocals removed and everything.
Yeah.
Which is true, except for on Bitter Boogie, where they just forgot to remove the vocals on one section.
What?
Yeah, so you're just listening to it, and just all of a sudden it's like the second verse just comes in. It's like, oh, cool. Like the only time lyrics show up on the entire like LP is just on this one section of Bitter Boogie.
They just screwed up the audio editing, I guess.
Yeah, I'm guessing like the harmonica or something that was on the same track as like one of the like one of the vocal tracks. So you probably just like like mute, and then just like left it. or maybe they thought it was funny that they kept it in there. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, I think this is a top tier album. Even if it's like not really conventional for them, I think it's yeah, like one of their best. If you want best songs, I guess I can
Yeah.
get into. I think Sense, Paper Mache Dream Balloon, and Time is Money are the three kind of top ones in my opinion. Um, I mean, I also really like Bone, Dirt, Cold Cadaver.
Nice. Well, that's a lot of songs.
Actually, wait, sorry, and actually, the probably the best one that I forgot to mention is Most of What I Like. I think that song has very like disturbing lyrics. Oh, I didn't mention that. Sorry, you said before we started recording that we need to pick up the pace, but I just need to gush about this album. Because despite the very kind of like light, kind of airy, you know, instrumentation, the lyrics are super fucking dark on a lot of the album.
Oh, really?
Well, yeah.
I like I said, I can't pick up on the lyrics that much.
Yeah, I mean, like, a lot of songs were like, dismembering like dead bodies, like in Cold Cadaver.
I
Most
guess.
of what I like is like, it's about like someone like doing kind of like, or like on the surface level, it's about like, like weird kind of like body experiments that people are doing.
Oh my God.
Like Trap Door, like the melody for that comes back in Murder of the Universe. Talking about the Gizverse again. Um, and Sense is about climate change. So that's yeah.
Wow. All right.
It's
You
a
picked up a
very
lot.
cool album. I really love it.
Yeah. I like it. I hear a lot of what you're saying. I think it is a step up again from In Your Mind Fuzz. So I think they're, constantly improving. And yeah, this one's a bit more like folky. It probably folk is like the main genre here, but it still has those like psychedelic influences, the pop influences. It's way more relaxing than their earlier albums. I think I said that about Quarters too, but then this got even more relaxing. There's really not as much fuzzy guitar or vocal effects. Like on all the albums before, it's like the guitar effects are just like crazy and like hammering your ears, and like vocal effects are all over the place. And this one is just like, oh, okay, they're actually playing acoustic guitars and you can hear their voices and they sound like human beings. And yeah, they're like the flute and the acoustic instruments. And my favorite song here would be Trapdoor, the fifth song. It sounds really kind of trancy. It actually reminds me of some of the trancy Porcupine Tree songs. They repeat the word trapdoor a lot. I guess that's one gripe with it, but it's kind of cool. I think it's got some odd time stuff going on too. I think it's mostly 4/4 though, but they might have a part where they repeat a bar of four followed by three or something. There's like something every now and then where it skips a beat or two. I don't remember exactly how it goes, but it's pretty cool.
What do they say more? Do they say trap door more, or do they say drip drip and the tap don't slip
I don't
more?
know. I haven't counted, but I think they say both a lot. That's great. Jumping into the next one, which I've mentioned a few times now already that I really love, and I
We've
feel like
both
this
mentioned it a few times
this
because
is
we're
where
insane
I
people.
feel they take off and become like a favorite group, like, among many of my favorite artists. I like a lot of artists, so it's hard for me to pick, but this is what like catapults them up into something where I'm going to spin this a lot. Not a God Infinity from 2016, their eighth album, still had that psychedelic feel, still has some of the garage rock. I think it's more progressive. They've brought in more jazz. They're kind of combining everything they've done before, and they even bring in some more like metal sounding stuff almost. And the cool thing about the album, of course, is designed to play as an infinite loop, and each song flows into the next, and then the last song flows into the first. My favorite song here would be Robot Stop, the first song. lots of cool stuff in 7 beats per bar, as well as some stuff in 4. And yeah, just immediately how this album starts, just with not a gun, infinity, it opens the door. It's like, all right, I'm ready. And it just goes, and it hits hard, and it keeps hitting hard the whole way through for me. And this is the first album where I listened to it from start to finish, and I'm just like blown away. I think it's a instant classic. I won't say exactly where it falls in my ranking, but it's in my, top third for sure of their albums.
Was that the pass off to me?
Yeah, I'll pass you the baton. How do you feel about Nonagon?
Well, this was the first album of theirs that I listened to.
Mm-hmm.
And it just like you said, just like instantly, like as soon as they like start off. I know you have a bit of a love for like stuff in like odd time signatures, and just like right off the hop, it's in 7. Like it's and it's like the motif that they keep coming back to throughout the album. Like you said, that Nonagon infinity opens the door.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think this album is pretty much like 12 Bar Brews, but just on like steroids. It's like everything like that from like my favorite albums, well, apart from Paper Mache Dream Balloon. But it's like 12 Bar Brews. It's like Mind Fuzz, just like combined and amped up. Like I mentioned, the hot water riff like comes back on like Robot Stop, which I think is really cool.
Cool.
I mentioned as well the wah wah like that they did like in the live version like mixed with the river, which is really cool. I think that's on Chunky Shrapnel. But yeah, if I had like any criticism, it's that like some of the transitions between songs aren't really as like smooth as other ones, because like the first like 4 or 5 songs are just like on it, right?
Yeah.
But I think there's a certain point, I think it's between People Vultures and Mr. Beat where it just kind of like stops almost. And like you could pretty much like start from like Mr. Beat and like roll through the rest of it. And I think that the transition between Road Train and Robot Stop is a little forced because Road Train like stops. Then they do like that non-gone infinity. I think that's a bit forced, but like honestly, I think that's like my only criticism of the album. That, and I don't really care for Road Train all that much, but not enough to skip it because like,
it's the end.
Yeah, and you can't skip any song on this album because that's
True.
Defeats the entire purpose of it.
Yeah, that's my least favorite too, Road Train on it.
Yeah, and I think this kind of speaks to what I was saying in the last part, where a lot of their kind of like more like metal stuff until they got to Rat's Nest kind of feels like forced and feels kind of like monotonous to me. Like there's that kind of like, the hints of that on Satan Speeds Up, and like you see it again here in kind of Road Train, but like really like I don't think there's really a bad song anywhere on here. I just think Road Train's definitely the weakest one. But honestly, like it's still like none of that is enough to like detract from the album in general, because like it's just like a masterpiece, honestly. And even if like a song on here is like a 7, like that's still like incredible, right? Like yeah, I don't know. And I don't know, I really like the gimmick of it, like repeating all the way around. It's one of the ones I don't want to buy on vinyl because like I feel like that defeats the purpose of having it loop.
CD or
CD or digital. So yeah, like you say you spin it, I spin it on my fucking iPod.
Well, everything that I've listened to, everything that we've talked about so far, I spin on Spotify or on my iPod, iTunes. I don't have any of it on physical yet. We'll get to those later. I only have 2.
Oh, that was a Spotify ad you played earlier, right? Like in the middle, in between these 2 parts, that was a Spotify ad, right?
Maybe that's
okay, cool. But yeah, I don't know. Really good album. One of their best, I would say. Like I said, like even though I, have criticisms of it, I feel like that's just because I've listened to it so many times that like I just kind of start to be like, oh yeah, like I get kind of like, it
Nitpicking?
becomes routine, right? And it's just kind of like, okay, like this one, like I start to see like the flaws in it, but like that's because I just played it so many times and I love it so much that um yeah.
Cool. Wait, I forget if you said a favorite song. Did
Oh,
you?
I would say Robot Stop, but since you already said that, I'm just gonna say Big Fig Wasp.
Big Fig Moss. Cool. All right.
So when you
On
have the playlist put up, then the songs will flow into each other.
that's oh yeah, are they one after another?
Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
Or like put Big Fig Wasp and also Gamma Knife or something, because like that would, you know.
Cool. On to Flying Microtonal Banana from 2017. And this is actually the first one that I heard from them. What do you think about this one, Zandy?
Uh, this is the first one that I bought on vinyl. I just found it at a record store when I was first getting into them. And I was like, oh, cool. Like, I'll just grab that. Um, it's again one of those albums that like I can't really vibe with. Because I said I like Rattlesnake, but it is kind of a song that overstays its welcome, just like you mentioned with
True.
with Quarters. And I think like a lot of the songs are kind of forgettable. Like I don't really like Anoxa. I don't really like Melting. I don't really like Open Water all that much. But I do think the album is really saved by one song, and that is Nuclear Fusion, which is one of my favorite songs I think ever from the band. And yeah, I don't know. I think like the microtone thing was like they were still kind of trying to find their footing with that. So like it was like I think it's explored better in subsequent albums and subsequent songs. But I feel like as like a kind of intro, like I didn't mention this before, but I think Nonagon's a excellent place to start. But I do think that this is also a good place to start for King Gizzard, as well
Yeah.
as Mind Fuzz. I
Yeah,
have a
for
couple
people
more,
who
but
people who would be interested, like microtone might not be for everybody, but for people who are interested in that kind of like artsy, like and who understand what microtones are and like want to hear something different, I think this is a good place to start, and it's where I
yeah,
start. That kind of drew me in because I hadn't heard stuff like that before.
yeah, fair enough. But I do think that it's kind of like monotonous though, like with a lot of like I said, Melting. I said Sleep Drifter, just kind of like actually Sleep Drifter is kind of cool, but like Open Water or like Anoxa, which I again, they're just kind of like repetitive.
Hmm.
But that's about it. I think it's one of my least favorite albums. But it did kick off that incredible run of albums in 2017,
Yeah.
which we'll talk about more, I guess, for the next like four albums. Where even if most of them aren't my favorite, it's still just like an incredible string of records, and it's really an accomplishment that they managed to do that at all.
Yeah.
Um,
Amazing.
so yeah, that's about all I have to say about this one.
Cool. Yeah, this is where I started, and I agree. I guess we should say to the listeners who may not know, maybe most people listening to this will already know and love King Gizzard, but they released 5 albums in 2017, which is amazing. And this is the first one that they released in 2017, their 9th album overall. First one that I heard because I was curious about this microtonal experimentation stuff that was going on here. This is the first of 3 albums where they use microtonal guitars on each song, and the other 2 are KG and LW. It's very weird to hear it. It sounds kind of like Eastern influence in Western style psychedelic rock, because you might hear like microtonal stuff in like Indian music or like Middle Eastern. I don't know like what cultures all use microtonal stuff like in between our Western tones, but you don't hear it too much in like the kind of popular music in our.
You're in over your head here, Brennan. Just pump the brakes.
Pump the brakes. I don't know culture. But I think it sounds cool, so and sounds different, which I like. My favorite song in here would be Rattlesnake, and I agree it's repetitive. The repetitive vocals just being like rattlesnake, 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 rattlesnake. Um, but it's very memorable, you know, like there's something about the song just being like one that when you see the title you're like, yeah, that one. And it gets you in a trance too. Like I'll say that's another style of King Gizzard song. Like they have their boogies style, they have their trancey style where it's like just like not the same as the boogie, but it's still kind of something that you groove to and you just kind of get lost and hypnotized by. And I, although this one's kind of danceable too, Rattlesnake. Like it doesn't quite fit their boogie category, but
Well, tell the DJ to put it on at your wedding, you coward.
I highly doubt they would have that. But I actually like Open Water. I think that one's danceable too. Also has catchy vocals. But I agree with you on Anoxia. Like that was probably my least favorite on here. And yeah, that's about all I have to say about this one. So we could jump over to Murder of the Universe from 2017, which is actually the first one that we'll talk about that I have a physical copy of. You can see here. And it's yeah, looks pretty cool. I'm not going to take it out, but it does have that vomit green splatter thing, which is cool. And what do I think about this one? I think I'm starting with my impressions here. This one's more progressive again than all their other ones so far. Even a bit of metal again too. And it starts with some spoken word, so can bring back some of those vibes of Eyes Like the Sky, where they have a lot of spoken word and they have a concept. But here, the spoken word, it kind of like reminds me of Lord of the Rings. It sounds like I'm listening to like Galadriel or some like elf speaking, like a female elf speaking to me. Very psychedelic feel to it as well. I think it's a concept album, but it's split into 3 separate stories, chapter 1, 2, and 3, where the first chapter is the tale of the altered beast. Second chapter is Lord of Lightning versus Balrog. Third chapter is Han, Tumi, and the Murder of the Universe.
Are you on Wikipedia right now too?
I am looking at Wikipedia, but do not ask me to explain the story. The whole first chapter, though, sonically, like my expertise is more in like listening to the music than the lyrics, but sonically it flows. It has that trance thing that I talk about where there's something about the drumming, the trance like drumming, where it just goes, it loops. It's repetitive, but there's something about it that captivates, which I really like. And my favorite song would be Altered Beast 2, which is the 4th track, and that's got a cool odd time rhythm. I think it's 9 beats per bar. Has a really cool 9-note riff. It makes you head bob still. And I like the spoken word, just the sound of it even. Really good song. What do you think of this one?
Oh, that was the pass off again. Sorry, I fumbled that. Oh boy. So I'm just gonna take this kind of like chunk by chunk here because there's a lot here. So the Tale of the Altered Beast is I hate it.
Oh, really?
It's one of, and I'm just gonna say like generally this is one of the few albums like that exist, or the few kind of like pieces of media that exist that like can make me feel genuinely uncomfortable.
Really, I love it. It's
Oh
so
my God.
strange.
Oh, because to me, okay, so something that's still kind of like freaks me out is the Goosebumps book, The Haunted Mask. Okay.
Okay.
Um, and that mostly because of that story is all about like, the girl puts on the mask and then like she starts losing her sense of self, and like she starts like losing her kind of like individuality, and like she kind of like becomes kind of like absorbed by like this like weird ass mask.
Oh
And
yeah.
that's pretty much what the tale of the altered beast is. And it just makes me feel like really uncomfortable to have that like musically, and to have that like, actually like represented really well in like the kind of like really dark psych kind of like vibes. I think they do like too good of a job kind of like conveying that musically, and it really makes me feel weird to listen to.
I think that's
um
an accomplishment on their part because I
oh,
think
it
it
absolutely
must be
is,
what they're
but I
going
don't
for.
like listening to it though.
Yeah,
Like fucking like Revolution 9 is an accomplishment, but like I don't want to listen to that shit. Like
that's
it
true.
starts,
From the nine.
yeah, yeah. I don't want to listen to Revolution 9. Um
Yeah.
uh so yeah, I think that always kind of leaves a bit of a sour taste in my mouth about the about like the rest of the album. But I do really, really like the Lord of Lightning section.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
I think this is the one like more than
Still
anything
calls
that.
back to Nonagon too, right?
Oh, I'll get to that.
Okay.
But yeah, yeah, I think this is the one that like you mentioned, it kind of has that kind of like Galadriel kind of speaking to you kind of vibes. Like where it's
Oh
just kind of
yeah.
like really like fantasy based, really like whatever. Um, and yeah, like it starts off with like some context, which it just kind of like leads in from like, I think it's People Vultures from Nonagon.
Doesn't she speak in the Tale of the Altered Beast
Oh, she
too?
does, yeah.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, chapter two, the Lord of Lightning, yeah, like it starts off with a song called Some Context. It's like a 10-second thing that is just like the riff from People Vultures that kind of like leads into it.
Okay.
And if you play, I think People Vultures, then what's it called, like Recant and Raconteur or something? I can't read. It's
Reticent Raconteur.
yes.
Something like
I'm illiterate, all right? Don't shame me.
That's whatever. We did the literacy test long
I've
ago.
I've had like three drinks by this point. I'm like I'm like well into the bag by this point. Um, but, um, but yeah, like it like you can actually have them like stitched together from like Nonagon, like it actually flows like 100% like perfectly into each other, which I think
Mhm.
is really cool. Um, then there's like Lord of Lightning and the Balrog, I think, have musical allusions back to Trapdoor, back to Mind
Oh,
Fuzz, and back to Nonagon as well.
nice.
Um, I feel like that's really cool, like where they kind of have like those kind of like, you know,
Easter eggs.
connections. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, there's probably other ones, but I just can't remember. But yeah, I think that chapter two, like the Lord of Lightning one, is definitely the strongest bit of the album. Um, then one that I didn't really like all that much at the start, like when I first heard it, but then I've come around to it, is Hantayumi, the Confused Cyborg.
Mhm.
Where, um, speaking of leaving a sour taste in your mouth, it again kind of makes me feel like genuinely uncomfortable, like where he's just like talking about like the feeling of vomiting.
Yeah.
But
I remember that part. That was actually lyrics that I did hear. It was like, I want to
yeah,
know what it was like to be a human and vomit or whatever.
like
Something
yeah,
like
I want to do the two things that cyborgs can't do: death and vomit. Just, um, but no, I do think that like musically, it slaps, and like their live versions are always really cool of this. Like I've come around to it, but I still haven't come around to the Tale of the Altered Beast, which I still think is a very strange adaptation of a Sega game. Um, but that's a different conversation entirely. Maybe we can review Altered Beast on Sega Genesis next. Can we do that? Because I want to talk about Altered Beast on the Sega Genesis.
wait, is that a thing? What?
Yeah, that's a
Oh,
game.
it's a game.
It's on the
Okay.
Sega Genesis, Brandon. Come on,
Is
come
that
on. You
what they're
gotta, you
referring
gotta.
to in the song?
No,
this game?
No, it's no, it's totally unrelated, but it's the game's not that good.
Okay. Well, I used to love Sega Genesis, but for me it was just Sonic the Hedgehog. I never owned one, but I went to a cottage that had one and used to play it all the time. Pretty fun game. All right, where are we going to next? We're going to Sketches of Brunswick East, which is a collaborative album between King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard and the Mild High Club. And I forget if I'm giving my thoughts first or you first.
Are you also mostly in the bag right now? Because
I must be because I
yeah.
can't keep track of simple things.
Yeah, Wellington Brewery, man, they really know how to pack it in.
Well, this is a strong beer. It's like 7%, and I'm almost.
Yeah, why are you drinking a stout in the summertime? It's weird.
I don't know. I just like stouts. I don't like that people decide that they shouldn't make stouts in the summer because I still like drinking stouts in the summer, and I'll drink wheat beers in the winter too. Like I like a beer every time of the year, you know.
Fair enough. Don't let society bring you down.
Exactly. That's my rambling about beer. So, what do you think about Sketches of Brunswick East?
I Jesus Christ. I really like Sketches. Speaking of kind of jazzier albums, it's their jazziest one, I think.
I agree, yeah.
And it I don't know, I think it like every time I listen to it, I just kind of like it just kind of like washes over me, and I just like really kind of like I don't know, because I think the way that the tracks transition to each other like is actually better than on Nonagon. I think that like because a lot of the songs like I can't really like think of like what they sound like specifically apart from like like the more kind of like notable songs like Tizetta or like The Book or Spider and Me, or You Can Be Your Silhouette. But like so many of them just kind of like are kind of like transitional songs. So many of them are just kind of like just kind of there. Because like a bunch of times I've seen like their sketch art, like not sorry, their set lists, and they've played I think like one of these songs a couple times, but like it's always like one of their transitional songs like in between like other songs that they do. But yeah, I think this one just kind of like really vibes with me. It's one of the ones that I can just like put on and just like kind of let it go, and it just kind of like is perfect for like working, like background music, whatever. And yeah, I think it's one of their like kind of albums that just like really vibes with me, and I really like it.
All right. Yeah, I like it too, and agree it's the jazziest, but it still has some of their signature. You can still tell it's them, psychedelic, rock, pop, a bit softer than what they usually do again, and kind of like paper mache dream balloon, that you're not going to get hit with this fuzz and weird vocal effects all over the place. It's still kind of more jazzy, more traditional. I don't really know the band Mild High Club, but it sounds like they did a good job on here. Maybe I'll have to check them out in the future. And my favorite track out here would be Tezita. I love the vocal melody, the drum groove. It's got like a nice triplet swing, kind of shuffle jazziness to it. It has that robotic spoken voice in the background at some parts too.
Well, first of all, it's Hantayumi. You gotta respect the game here.
Wait, pardon me?
That's Hantayumi.
Oh, that's Hantayumi. Okay.
Yeah, the confused cyborg. Come on.
It's the same robot.
It's the Gizzverse, Brennen. Get on my level.
It's the same robot from Murder in the Universe. Oh my god, mind blown. Did you say a favorite song? I forget.
I didn't say one from Murder of the Universe either.
Oh damn, you're gonna have to say one for both now.
Just put the entire like Lord of Lightning section on there. It'll be fine.
You gotta pick one. I'll pick the song Lord of Lightning.
Oh god. Yeah, Lord of Lightning I think is my favorite one on there. Cool. Just add some context in there just so it has that kind of like lead in. Anyway, my favorite song on here is probably Spider and Me,
Yeah,
as well as Tizetta.
sweet.
But
Okay, well, a lot of songs there. I like Spider and Me as well. I also like Countdown.
yeah, Countdown. I mean, I like all the songs that are kind of like more like standalone on here.
Mhm.
Because like I said, there's a lot of kind of like transitional tracks. I think there's like sketches of Brunswick East, like 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever.
Mhm.
But like yeah, like all this the more like standalone tracks are like really, really good. Um, like even like the book, which I think is probably the weakest song on here. It sounds like a fucking Doors song, which I think is kind of cool, but like it's still really good, and I still like really like the album. And now that we're actually talking about it, I might actually bump it up in my like ranking.
Oh yeah.
Because
Cool.
like 'cause now that I'm actually looking at it, I'm just like, oh my god, this album's so good. Um, yeah, it's a
Awesome.
fantastic album. And I see the timer popped up, Brennan, and I hope that you're not expecting us to talk about the next one in like 4 minutes.
I'm guessing
Uh,
we won't be able to. So with that, we're going to go to another commercial break. And when we get back, we're going to talk about 2017's Polygonduana Land. If I pronounce it right, which I think I did.
yeah, you got it.
Toodles, everyone.
Bye, toodles.
And now a word from our sponsors. Sponsors. Spotify. It's like Bandcamp, except they have Joe Rogan. Come on over to Spotify. We can totally recommend what you should listen to so you can have algorithms that can control more of your life decisions. We're all about trying to shine a spotlight on lesser known artists and podcasters like Joe Rogan, who wouldn't otherwise have been able to find an audience without our platform. If you like Bandcamp, you'll love Spotify because we make better playlists and we have Joe Rogan. I know it sucks that you have to pay if you don't want to hear ads, but trust me, it's worth it. Even though Bandcamp listening is free and has no ads, they don't have Joe Rogan. Spotify, helping starving artists starve a little less, one day at a time. Welcome back from that amazing commercial break where you heard from our amazing sponsors. And I'm starting my second beer, which is Queen of Craft IPA, also from Wellington Brewery. I'm guessing you can tell what brewery I just ordered from recently. Cheers,
Is it
everyone.
Wellington?
Mhm.
Cool.
And now we're on to the album that Zandy's holding there, Polygondwana Land, their 12th studio album. And
Ooh,
then we'll
yeah.
start with Zandy. What do you think about this one?
Well, this is, I think, their best album. Again, don't mean to spoil the climax, like Darth Vader's Luke's father, whatever, but this is, yeah, I think their best album. I'm sure Brennan's going to mention time signatures in this. um, but
Yeah.
to me, this album just gets more fun to listen to when you start like listening to the different layers of it, listening to the different instruments, listening to the different like time signatures, trying to count along to it. I think it's just a very fun and rich album to kind of go back to. Um, the Actually, this was the first one that I think I was like actually like actively anticipating to come out because I listened to Nonagon for the first time in the summer of 2017.
Hmm.
And as I was going through their back catalog a little bit, that's when they released sketches. And then this is the first one that I was like, yeah, like Gizzard, yeah. Um, but it's yeah, the one that I have here is a needle juice pressing. Because they have this is one of the ones that they released through their bootlegger program. It was like the first one that they released through that.
Oh,
So like anyone can just like download the source files for it. Anyone can just like, make their own
oh,
pressings.
heard that.
Yeah, so this is the first one that they released through that. It was totally free. There's literally nothing stopping you from going on Bandcamp, listening to it right now. But I think the vibe of the album is I've said the word vibe so many times on here. Oh, I sound like a crazy person, but I think that it's unlike really anything that they've ever done. It has like electronic influences. It has very you're gonna say the word prog. I know it. I can see you waiting, Brennan. It's got
It
very
is.
kind of
The
like
Frog album.
um it's got like electronic parts. It's got like um instrumentation they've never really used before or like to great extent on like previous albums. It's and each well, there's like kind of like four different suites of tracks. There's like the opening track, Crumbling Castle. Then there's like the three kind of like groups of three after that just kind of like flow into each other. And each one is kind of like a unique kind of section of a story. And yeah, it just tells like a really cool kind of like weird story about like, human augmentation, kind of like a proto like Hantayumi. And actually on the vinyl here, at the very end, you can hear Hantayumi say hello.
Oh yeah, nice.
And it's just like an infinite loop of just him going, hello, hello, hello. Kind of like
Oh, my
on it's like the end of Sergeant Pepper where they have like the infinite loop there.
gosh.
Freaked me out the first time I heard it. Anyway, it's yeah, I don't know. To me, it's their best album. It's the one that I would like revisit the most, because, like I said, it's just so much fun to listen to, so much fun to listen to the different layers of, and yeah. And to be honest, I can't pick just one song. I have to pick three. That's cheating, I know, but to
Yeah.
me, that would be the middle three songs of Inner Cell, Loyalty, and Horology are like the best ones on the album.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. For me, this. Yeah, you're right. I'm gonna say the word prog. I think this is their most progressive album. I think they have a lot of kind of progressive albums, but this is probably the most. If you like that kind of 70s progressive rock stuff, but this sounds really modern too. So it's not like it's not super retro or anything. My favorite song here would be Crumbling Castle, the first song. And the main riff has a bit of an Eastern vibe. It's really catchy. I think they really start getting the whole polymeter stuff going on here, where they have multiple time signature things going at the same time, going in and out of phase with each other, which they do on several albums later as well that we'll probably talk about. And I think there was like a beat loop in here that I counted that was like 21 beats. But this also has this Crumbling Castle has that trancey vibe too. Really love this album. It's probably my second favorite. So I guess we'll see what my favorite will be later. But
Oh, I know what it is, and it's also a good one.
yeah, it's really hard because these top tier ones are just so amazing. So I mean, my favorite, I even love Murder of the Universe. I know that one kind of makes you less comfortable, but Polygon, Dwanaland, Murder of the Universe, this is just amazing art. Even Nonagon Infinity. I think these ones kind of outdo Nonagon Infinity, but even that one's just really amazing.
Yeah. And you mentioned the kind of like trancy vibes, and I think that this is one where like kind of like tranciness of it kind of like works with me a lot more than on say like your like Flying Microtonal Bananas, for example. Like
Right. Yeah.
or like some of like the lesser songs on Quarters, like where it just kind of like doesn't fully click for me, especially on like Microtonal, and like especially Eyes Like the Sky. But yeah, like this one, it just like 100% works for me, and I love it dearly. And I do think that it might be some like also like like it was when I was first getting into the band. It was when it was like the first one that I was kind of anticipating. It might be a bit of a bias in that regard, but like
Yeah.
I don't care. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, I guess I first heard King Gizzard. I think it might have been like the first week of 2018 where I heard, because I was trying to make my year-end list of like best albums from 2017. And then I heard that there was this band that released 5 albums in 2017. And I'm like, and one of them had like microtonal shit. I'm like, well, I got to listen to these now because maybe these will make the list. And I forget.
And did they?
Or maybe, no, it might have honestly been right after I made my list that I discovered these. They would definitely all make the list now if I made it again. And I don't actually remember if they made it at the time. I think this was all before I did YouTube videos, though. I might have just like made a blog post about my favorite albums or a Facebook post or something. But over to Gumboot Soup now. Is this the last? Yeah, last one from 2017. Their 13th
Released on New Year's Eve in 2017.
Right.
They were like right down to the wire on this one.
Like, did they commit to 5 up front and then they were kind of
Yep.
scrambling? They just made it happen.
Yeah, I think in an interview with the Needle Drop recently, Stu said something about like the kind of front man of the band, Stu. He said like that this one that they were like he wanted to release it on Christmas, but he's like, oh, it still wasn't done yet.
Oh God.
So yeah. But your thoughts, Brennen? I'm taking over hosting duties now.
All right.
Deal with it.
Well, out of the ones released in 2017, this to me, it sounds the most kind of just standard. Like the other ones all kind of have an identity, you know, the microtones, Polygon, Dwanaland being crazy progressive, Sketches being jazzy. Oh my God, why am I forgetting the other one?
Murder of the Universe.
Murder of the Universe, yes. Being very unsettling for someone like Zandy, afraid of these bumps.
Who's still afraid of the haunted mask fucking 25 years later, but that's fine.
Yeah, this one's a bit more kind of standard. I guess this is a bit of the leftovers. It's more song orientated rather than like a concept and a theme throughout the album. And I guess they wrote a bunch of songs throughout the year that didn't fit any of the other concepts, and then they just kind of threw them on here. There's some cool songs on here though, and it's still a really good album. My favorite would be Superposition, which time signatures, we'll talk about those again. There's a lot of 5 in here. I like the vocal effects here. It's like robotic sounding auto-tune vocals.
Yeah, the vocoder sound.
Yeah, really cool stuff. It's very relaxing, really catchy, really soothing actually on this song.
Yeah, it's like Superposition and Last Oasis have kind of similar vibes to them, you know? Like,
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, really cool song. What do you think about this album?
I think just like Oddments, this was one that I was kind of focusing on the songs that I don't like more so than the songs that I do. The songs I don't like being Greenhouse Heat Death and Great Chain of Being.
Okay.
And again, being two kind of like metally songs that just kind of feel very like trudgy, very kind of like, you know, kind of just like monotonous and very like that's Great Chain of Being, by the way. My impression of that song.
Yeah, I guess
really
you don't like that stoner guitar sound. I actually
not really. We'll get to one point where it actually works really well for me later on, but I think you might be able to guess what song that is, but really the rest of the album I think is like super chill, super like fun to listen to. Like I mentioned Beginner's Luck earlier, pretty much being a Beatles song. Like it sounds to me like something that would be on like, yeah, it's so good.
I actually hear like the lyrics actually stick out of that one. I could tell that it's like a song about gambling at a casino. Like it's one where I listen to it and I hear words. Whereas a lot of the other with the fuzzy vocals, I just kind of hear the song.
It's very like standout as far because like the vocals are very clear on that one, right? Where you just like, you know, hear it. Then like, you know, Barefoot Desert, Muddy Water, just like every other song, like even like songs like Down the Sink. Like I know people are always like, oh, they don't like the vocals on like some of these songs, like, but Down the Sink is still, I think, a super fun song. And I do kind of, the more that I listen to like these kind of albums that they put out that are like kind of, you know, eclectic, like Oddments or Gumboot or Omnium later on.
Omnium, yeah.
Like the more that I really like them.
Yeah, they're really good if you want to get introduced to the band to hear the variety, because this is a band where it's very hard to tell somebody where to start to get a representative picture of them, because it's like, well, they do prog rock, they do thrash metal, they do like soft folk, and then they do psychedelic, they do like garage punk, surf, they do spaghetti western. So what do you like? Choose
now. I do think that this one probably isn't the best place to start. I think like Omnium is a better place to start, like as far as like
I
good
agree.
starting albums.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. This one is a pretty good like vertical slice of
Mhm.
like what the band has to offer. I think my favorite songs on here are probably Beginner's Luck and The Wheel.
Nice.
But like I said, like the rest of the album, like apart from like the two kind of like trudgy metal songs, are like the rest of the album is a total like it's super chill, and I love that. Like it's you don't really hear that very much from the band apart. Like it feels like they're kind of more eclectic albums are always kind of more geared towards just kind of like just being like really kind of like chill.
Mhm.
Um, but like on all three of these kind of like patchwork albums,
Mixed
like there's
bag
always like
album. Yeah.
yeah,
We've identified
there's always like oh, sorry.
we've
There's always a couple
identified
songs
the
that just like there's always a couple songs that just kind of like kind of break that.
yeah.
Like I said, like A B A C D whatever on Odd
Yeah.
Man's and like a Hot Wax and just kind of break that. And same thing here with like Greenhouse Heat Death and Great Chain of Being and
Mhm.
a couple ones on Omnium as well that we'll get to, but I don't feel like those ones are as kind of egregious. But yeah, I really dig this album. I like it more every time that I listen to it. But yeah, that's my kind of verdict on this one.
All right. Jumping over to Fishing for Fishies, which I guess would be the first new King Gizzard release that I was anticipating. Because like I said, I heard all those 2017 ones in early 2018, probably January 2018. And then I went back and listened to everything. And then I was anticipating the future, which was Fishing for Fishies, which is very different from everything they've done before. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, speaking of boogie songs,
Yeah,
there's
lots of
three
boogies
of them
here.
on here. But this one again, just like Paper Mache Dream Balloon, I think is a just stellar kind of album because it's so unlike anything that they've done kind of prior or like afterwards. I
Mhm.
do think it's kind of unfortunate because before this album came out, they released the single for Planet B from Rat's Nest.
Oh yeah.
So I feel like it got kind of overshadowed by the hype for Rat's Nest. Um,
Mhm.
but I still really, really love this album. To me, it's one of my favorites that they put out. I think that the kind of progression of it's really cool where the title track is more kind of like acoustic, like something that you might find off of Paper Mache Dream Balloon. Then it goes to kind of a more kind of like boogie place with songs like Plastic Boogie and Boogeyman Sam.
And
Just
Psy Boogie.
take a drink every time I say the word boogie. Um, but then it kind of like shifts into a more kind of like electronic direction with like Real's Not Real, This Thing, Acarine, and then ending on Side Boogie, which is just such a fun song.
Yeah,
It's so fun. Um,
it's
like
great.
like the drum beat, the synths, like it's just a ton of fun. I think this album is really cool. I love the progression of it. I love every song on it. Even though the lyrics on Cruel Millennial are kind of like dated by this point, like immediately so. Um, like he
I
mentions
didn't really,
PUBG. Like who the fuck is playing PUBG in 2022? But
I never even listened to the lyrics to that song, but I love that song.
oh, it's one of the few ones that like I find Ambrose's vocals to be kind of grating on it, but that's fine. It has a really cool kind of like 5/4 kind of like groove
Mm.
that da 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 da. Um,
Yeah, I
yeah,
love it.
yeah, I absolutely adore this album, and for a while I resented Rat's Nest because it overshadowed it as far as like like releases go.
Yeah.
Um, but I really love this one. If you're going to you know get a favorite song out of it, I'd say Acarine's probably my favorite one. Um,
Actually, cool.
because it's so unlike
Yeah.
anything else, and I think it really transitions cool like nicely into like from like Real's Not Real and This Thing into Side Boogie. It's just this like really weird, dark kind of like electronic nightmare.
Yeah.
Um, and again, Side Boogie being more of Hantayumi's story. That's this guy right here.
Oh, is that the guy back again? Oh my
Yeah,
God.
he's in the video for Robot Stop as well. If you didn't notice
Wow.
him. But yeah, absolutely love this album. What are your thoughts on this one, Brennan?
Yeah, I love it too. And it's more of a boogie rock and blues rock kind of thing. Really, yeah, it's completely different from everything else they did. There were a few songs from earlier in their career that kind of foreshadowed that they had these sounds in their bag of tricks, but doing a whole album like this is definitely unexpected from them. So when I heard this was a shocker. I like it better than Infest the Rat's Nest, even though I'm a metalhead. So um, I like both, though. They're both great albums.
Oh, yeah, like I said, it was for a while that I resented Rat's Nest.
Come
I
around
still like
to
it. I still like Fishies better than Rats, but
yeah, yeah, me too. I like it, but I love them both. And the Cruel Millennial is a great song. I love the harmonica there. I love how it alternates between the. I think it alternates between 5 and 6 beat phrases like. Oh man, so good. And I love the boogie songs too. Plastic Boogie. Fuck all of that plastic.
a color
It
that
kind of
plastic.
sounds a little bit like the Cruel Millennial a bit. Um, I like the title track. I like Acarine, like you said. And the cool thing about Acarine is it has a bit of the King Crimson vibe to the opening guitar riff. Not sure if you're familiar with King Crimson, but that's a classic 70s prog band. Maybe you'd like them. They're also kind of like King Gizzard in that almost all their albums are completely different from each other. Like they've made a lot of very different sounding albums. So pretty cool band that if you like weird eclectic stuff, you could probably be into them.
I don't know. I've got into Ween, so I don't know if King
Mm.
Crimson is really. I don't know if I can do another one. It's I only have so much space in my head for like
For
weird
weird shit.
artists. Yeah.
No, yeah, King Crimson is fucking weird shit, but it's amazing and I love it. Side Boogie's also great. I can pretty much talk through every song in here and say it's great, except maybe I don't really love Reels Not Real.
What?
That's probably my like low point of the album. But everything
Just full of
else.
disappointments today, aren't you, Brennan?
Oh, you really love that one?
I think the back half of this album is like really, really strong. Yeah, like I think like there isn't any song on here that I would say is bad, but like
Yeah,
if
nothing
like
bad.
the ones that I like with Nonagon, like there's a couple that I would say are like 7s out of 10s,
Yeah,
like Birdsong I think is kind of like forgettable.
yeah, yeah.
Like I said, like the lyrics in Cruel Millennial, despite like the instruments being super awesome, don't really kind of vibe with me anymore. But yeah, like
Yeah.
the whole back half of Fishies, I think is like solid 10 out of 10.
Sweet. All right. What about Infest the Rat's Nest? I guess I can start with my thoughts on that. What do I want to say about this one? Gotta find my notes
What
here.
do you want to say about Rat's Nest, Brennan?
Rat's Nest, well, it's thrash metal. So that way it sticks out like a sore thumb from anything in their album list so far. Um, it's kind of crazy that they made a thrash metal album and they're not a metal band. And I feel weird me being a metalhead but saying this is, it's just middle of the pack King Gizzard. For me, it's not like not in their top half for me. It's kind of just middle of the road. Um, but at the same time, even though I'm a metalhead, this is probably one of my favorite thrash metal albums of all time, which is kind of crazy. Like Move Over, Megadeth, Metallica, Slayer, and you know Anthrax, the big four of thrash metal. You've got King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard playing thrash metal.
That
Another,
sounds like a pull quote from a fucking like movie poster or something. Like, oh, look out,
yeah,
fucking Avatar.
it's a hot take right here.
We got
I want,
John Carter going to Mars. Look out, Avatar.
I want butthurt Slayer fans to like come find this video and comment in the video and be like, "Fuck you, Slayer."
I feel like Slayer fans would probably like this album.
Yeah, they probably would, but they probably would think Slayer's better.
I mean, the
But
fuck has Slayer put out in the last like 20 years?
I don't know. I'm not big on Slayer. I like Megadeth and Metallica, the big four, but Megadeth's the best. There we go.
I like pop punk music. I still listen to emo music. So like, I don't know. I don't know what you're saying right now, Brennan. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I think it's just blasphemy for me to say invest the Rat's Nets. Yeah, Rat's Nest
There
is
you go.
my favorite thrash metal album of all time. And my other one is another weird one, which is by a weird band called Mr. Bungle. And they're like this weird like funk experimental avant-garde band that like normally doesn't make a thrash metal, but then they made a thrash metal album, and that's my other favorite thrash metal album. So I kind of like when these weird, quirky outsiders make thrash metal, because there's something that thrash metal never really had, this kind of like fun, cheeky, hilarious like vibe to it. It was always kind of like this serious tough guy image, but I really love when these like outsider, quirky, experimental people do thrash metal. It just puts a smile on my face, and I feel like that's what thrash metal should sound like. And my favorite song here is Organ Farmer. Has a lot of really fast guitar leads. It's a nice, just short and fast and thrashy parts. Like it's just great. What do you think about this one?
See, I picked up on your cue this time. You didn't.
Yeah.
We're so close. We're on the verge of greatness. No, this one, like I said, like for like a year after it came out, like I wasn't sour on it per se, but like it's kind of like a lot of things kind of going on in my head, like that came with this album, which was like I was kind of being a bit gatekeepy in like the subreddits and like the fandom and stuff. Or, like this kind of like brought in a bunch of new fans this album.
Yeah.
So like every time it's like, oh, like I found them through Rat's Nest. I was kind of like, oh, like you found them through Rat's Nest. Like I found them through Nonagon. Like whatever. Like
I'm better.
Yeah. So kind of like weird gatekeepy shit that I've since gotten over. But also like when they released all their live albums in 2020, to like help with the Australian wildfires and like with like pandemic relief and all that stuff. They were all set lists that leaned very heavily on Rat's Nest, to the point where I think that you could like actually reform this album like 2 or 3 times over, just like with like unique versions that they played on all the live releases. So I got a bit burnt out on that. Just kind of like, it's like, oh, like I'm gonna listen to like their live album. It's like, oh yeah, like here's Planet B again, here's Mars for the Rich again, here's Venusian again. Like, but I think since then, I've kind of mellowed on this album a bit, and which is weird to say about a thrash album. But like as far as like everything that kind of came with it, I've kind of like put behind me, and I can just more appreciate it for what it is, which is a really solid and really fun metal album.
Yeah.
Like I think every time I've gotten a COVID vaccine, I put the song Superbug on when I was kind of waiting for like the 15 minutes afterwards.
Yeah.
But like, I think like, the whole story that it tells about like, the rich people like going off and colonizing like Mars when they like, destroy the planet through fucking capitalism. And then just leave like the impoverished like back on Earth, and then like the impoverished kind of like try to colonize Venus and end up fucking dying. I think is
Venus is a bit too hot, eh?
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, the atmosphere is like just like impenetrable, but that's fine.
I picked up on the lyrical themes on this one a bit too. So I did actually grasp that it was about like, the rich people.
Yeah, it's kind of like post climate change, like post like late stage capitalists, like all that stuff. And I think that's like really fucking cool. And like it actually tells like a cohesive story, like I think better than like Eyes Like the Sky. I think better than like most of
Mhm.
Murder of the Universe, because like, I think like they convey it very well through like the music as well, where it's um like where I think the metal, like the thrash metal kind of sound of it really kind of encapsulates the kind of like world on fire kind of feeling that they're going for. Um, which kind of leads me into my favorite song of the album, which is Self-Immolate. Um, because like the time signatures on there are so cool. Um, like the way like the dun 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 dun, like that's
Uh,
just so fucking rad. And like how it's like on the offbeat, and like I think it's in what, like 11 or something, where it's like
I don't know. I didn't count that one.
it's not like it's like a really fast like 11 or something, like it, like maybe 7, I can't remember, but like it's really cool. And how like the guitar is playing like one thing, and like you mentioned with Polygon Duano and like the polyrhythms.
Yeah.
um
Oh yeah,
yeah, I
that
just think
might
that's
be it.
really cool.
Yeah, they
um
have some Meshuggah influence. I don't know if you ever listened to Meshuggah, but it's a friggin' heavy band that does this polymeter stuff like
hmm.
no other bands. But they're
Yeah, I
probably
mean,
like the most brutal band on this play.
I was gonna say honestly, like I don't really care for like metal that much anymore. Like I mentioned, I still listen to like fucking like pop punk. Like, um,
Yeah, I do too, but I can like both.
well, you can like both, but I mean, like my brother was recently trying to get me into fuck, what was the band called? Like it's like Don Broca or something is the band.
Oh, I don't know.
Um, like Dom Broca, I can't remember exactly what they're called, but like it's like every time I listen to it, I was like, okay, that's a cool song, but like I don't want to really go to my way to listen to it, you know? Um, I think the vocalist for that was featured on like one of the new Dance Gavin Dance songs, but
Okay.
that's
Cool.
yeah. Anyway, so as someone who doesn't particularly like care for metal anymore, who doesn't particularly like keep up with that, like I still really appreciate like Rat's Nest, and I think it's really cool for like a one-off album, and I think it's an example of Gizzard doing metal right. Like I didn't I didn't care for like Greenhouse Heat Death or like any of the other kind of like metal experimentation songs previously, or like Road Train even.
Agree. This is their best metal.
Yeah, but this is where like they really kind of like hit their stride, like where they actually like really put like their all into it, and I think the results speak for themselves. And also, I think Hell is probably my second favorite song, because that ending just hits so hard. It's so rad. Like the Hell's where they wanna be is like, oh, like 10 out of 10. I love it so much. Um,
Awesome.
I think that's all I have to say about this one.
All
Yeah,
right.
I just really like it compared to their other kind of metal efforts. Yeah.
Me too. Jumping over to KG. What do you
Well, I
think
have
about
this one
that
too.
one? Oh
Hold
yeah,
on.
you have that one on vinyl.
Gotta do my show and tell here. Ooh,
Ooh, it's
it's the
shiny.
flightless pressing. Whoa.
And it's the second microtonal album.
Yeah, it's a second microtonal album. I just spoke at length about Rat's Nest, but I can probably keep this one pretty short because I see the timer up here in the corner that we're getting close to the end here, and but I think that this one's kind of like intertwined with me with the next one, LW, where I don't think I've listened to KG by itself like since LW came out. I've always listened to them like together.
Oh, really?
Mostly because like every song from KG leads into the next one, and then Hungry Wolf of Fate leads into If Not Now Then When.
Oh,
So I can't really separate the two albums in my head. But that being said, I think I really like this one. I think it's also a good place to start with Gizzard along with LW, because just like their other kind of more eclectic albums, I don't think this one necessarily falls into that eclectic category, but like it does, I think, give a good vertical slice. Again, there's that word again, of the band, where you have songs like Automation or Some
mhm.
of Us that kind of like harken back to like the kind of more like Nonagon era of Gizzard.
Yeah.
Then you have stuff like Minimum Brain Size that's very kind of like Polygon Dwanaland in style. Um, then you have like Intersport, which is kind of like Timeland and Butterfly-ish.
Oh.
And then like Honey is kind of more like, Paper Mache Dream Balloon, and Hungry Wolf of Fate is kind of like Rat's Nest a little bit. Hungry Wolf of Fate is again that kind of like trudgy, kind of like sludge metal or whatever. But to me, I think it's done better on here because it has like a bit more melodic kind of elements to it. It's not just like power chords all the way through. But again, I find it very like indistinguishable from the next album, so I find it hard to talk about by itself. But what did you think about this one, Brennan?
I liked it. I think it's a nice sonic sequel to Flying Microtonal Banana. It can be weird for people who aren't used to the microtonal sound. It can definitely sound like the instruments are out of tune, but once you know that's what's happening, then your brain kind of switches and you're like, oh, okay, it's kind of like this nice like Eastern sound rather than our Western music. And then, you hear some stuff like that in movies sometimes. So my brain can switch to be like, all right, I know what's going on here. It's not just a bunch of assholes with their guitars out of tune. They're doing this on purpose.
I mean, it's that as well, but I mean, like that's fine. They make it work,
Straws in the Wind is probably my favorite. I like how it's acoustic. It's cool hearing the microtonal stuff on the acoustic guitar. So I actually like a bunch of the acoustic stuff on here, like Straws in the Wind and Honey. Honey's got a cool like 7-beat per bar thing too. So we've got the odd times going on too. But yeah, I like all of this. I think the next one kind of outdoes it. So for me, LW is better than KG.
Ooh, we'll get to that in part 4 or whatever.
Oh yeah, we're gonna have to take another commercial break.
Oh, actually, wait, real quick. Favorite song on here for me is Intersport. Because I think that song just absolutely slaps. But that's
okay, yeah, that's a good one. Intersport. Yeah, I feel like that one was pretty like danceable as well. I have some there's words that I use a lot with King Gizzard. There's like danceable, trancy. Then there's the odd times and the thrashy and
yeah, I've noticed that it's been just like kind of like Groundhog Day, but put into like a video form.
Yeah, because they pull out. They have a few like types of tricks that they pull. And this like weird dancey thing is there, and there's not that many like psychedelic or progressive bands that you would ever dance to, but King Gizzard is one that you can, and there's a couple others that you can. And now a word from our sponsors.
Bye.
Up yours, woke moralists. We'll see who cancels who.
Are you stressed? Do you feel like you have the entire world up against you? Well, maybe you should try not being an asshole. Yes, 9 out of 10 doctors recommend not being an asshole. The 10th doctor is an asshole. Not being an asshole really helps you reconnect with those that you've maybe lost in your life. It really helps you with finding inner peace. It just makes it so you piss off less people and generally enact a more positive change in the world. So just try not being an asshole. It's wonderful, and it'll take years off the amount of time that you're dead. So just try it. You have nothing to, just don't be an asshole. Like seriously, like what are you even doing?
Welcome back from that amazing commercial that may or may not have happened. We're now going to talk about LW.
The only one that both of us have physically, which is...
Yeah, that's true. I only have 2 of them physically. Zandy's got a lot.
I got too many, some would say.
But I hope to get more in the future. do expect I will. There's just a lot of music that I like. What do you think about LW?
Well, gosh. Okay, so like I said, to me, this one's pretty indistinguishable from KG. Because like I said, I haven't listened to it like by itself since I don't think I've ever listened to it like by itself. Um, yeah, because it just like leads in so well from the previous album.
Right.
I still like this one, but I'm going to kind of flip the script on you where I like it less than the previous one. Um, Mostly because I don't particularly like the song "See Me." I think that's one of the ones that's kind of like repetitive and very kind of like and not very engaging to me because like the melody I think is kind of like not very good. And on KG, I think it's elevated generally by Intersport.
Got it.
But I think the rest of the album though is really cool. If not now, then when? Like talking again about like how it kind of like these two albums kind of encapsulate the band like pretty well. Like this one kind of like if not now, then when kind of harkens back to like the Sketches kind of like style. It has like that like harpsichord kind of like funky kind of
Oh yeah, love it.
feel to it. Like songs like Plur are kind of more like Rat's Nest a little bit. Like Supreme Ascendancy, I think is probably my favorite song. So add that to the playlist. Like where it's, I don't know if like that would necessarily fit in like the rest of their discography, but I think it does have a very cool vibe to it by itself. Where, and like the lyrics as well, I think are amazing. Like Static Electricity and East West Link and even Ataraxia are kind of a bit more kind of like Polygon feeling, like not quite, but like a little bit more. And then KGLW again, like is very Rat's Nesty, like, and again, it's another example of the kind of like trudgy metal that works for me. It's maybe a bit overlong, but like it's still really cool. And I think it's a dynamite album closer. I don't know. I generally like just think these albums, like KG and LW, are good, but like not great. I do feel like they're kind of generally overlooked when people are kind of like going back through their like catalogs or whatever. Like I see this a lot of times on like the King Gizzard subreddit, whatever. But like, where like these ones aren't really talked about as much, but like I think they're very good albums, and like they're ones like where if I were to see them play like any of these songs live, I would be like, yeah, it's like it's fucking Plura, like fucking go. And again, I think KG and LW are like as like a cohesive unit, I think are a very good place to start along with, Mind Fuzz, along with along with Nonagon, along with Polygon. I think KG and LW are a great jumping off point. But
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I like it as well. I think this is the best of the microtonal. For me, I like this better than Flying Microtonal Banana and KG. So they got it right on the third try. Third time's the charm, I guess. My favorite.
You had that one written down for years, I bet, didn't you? Like since like last year when the album came out, you're just like, oh, third time's the charm. I'm gonna use that.
No, actually, I just thought of that in the moment. But I mean, it's
cool.
Pretty cliche saying. So I mean, I don't want to say I invented it. You heard it here, folks.
You heard it here first.
I made up the saying third time's the charm.
I believe it.
If not now, then when? That's my favorite song on here. And I'll say the word danceable again, because damn, that is freaking danceable. Oh my God. And it's a great way to open an album. Like, because it kind of starts off in like free form, like there's no tempo, and it's just kind of like, hitting a chord a bunch of times, like, and then once the beat drops, it's just like, yes. And the harpsichord thing that you said, yeah, really good sound. I also love Plura. That does some 7-beat stuff. It rivals, if not now, then when, for the best song for me.
I think that Plura actually has like it's really hard to count to, honestly. Like it's a really cool song. Like
It
I think
might yeah.
they put out like a live video of them playing it, and like because like how much like they stop like for like weird amounts of time. Like they have to like like they can't like feel when they kick back in. Like they have to like be counted in.
Mhm.
It's really cool. But like it's I don't know. It's just a very strange song. Like the player, like the background vocals going like plur plur like I think are really cool. It's also probably my second favorite song on the album behind Supreme Ascendancy. But
Nice.
yeah, it's a really cool song, and yeah, I think these two albums are really solid and really good. That's probably the best way to describe them.
Yeah. All right, let's jump into a fun one that we both love, which is Butterfly 3000 from 2021, their 18th album. And I
Yeah,
guess I'll start off here. This one's different from everything they've done before, too, which I like, when they throw us a curveball. Because I'd say this is more like psychedelic pop. It's less rock and more pop, synthy pop, dancey, dream pop. Those are the types of words. Looking at the Wikipedia genres.
do you guys have like definitions up on your screen right now? Because that seems
I
like
could I could bring up the definition of dream pop, a subgenre of alternative rock and neo psychedelia that emphasizes atmosphere and sonic texture as much as pop melody. Common characteristics include breathy vocals, dense productions, and effects such as reverb, echo, tremolo, and chorus. Yeah, definitely sounds like that. And my favorite song here would be Catching Smoke, the sixth song. And I think the vocals are just so catchy. The keyboard melodies are amazing. And this has the polymeter thing going on. So we talked about polymeter before, and I talked about a crazy extreme metal band called Meshuggah that, even though this sounds nothing like Meshuggah, it just reminds me of it when they have these polymeters, because I believe there's like the keyboard melody's got like a 16 beat phrase and then follows it with a 17 beat phrase, and then it loops that. But then the whole time there's like, I think drums are mostly 4/4, but then the vocal melody is so like syncopated with the
hey, is this Catching Smoke? Yeah, I think it's like four, then it's like a bar of three, right? Um,
I think it's hard to say because it's so polymetric, because there's the synth part that keeps doing 16 and then 17, 16, 17, 16, 17 for like a long time. So that's a weird odd number when you add those two together.
yeah, it's a bunch of fours and a five just kind of tossed in there. Like every fourth bar is a five. Yeah,
Maybe that's what it is. I'll have to listen to it again. I feel
do it,
like,
and you'll see that I'm right.
yeah, that might be it.
Edit the music in here, and like you'll see.
All right. What do you think of this one?
Oh, I love this one. It's one of my favorites. Again, spoilers for the rankings. Spoilers. Thanos does the snap. Anyway. No, I absolutely love this one. They did kind of a weird thing with this one on release, where they didn't release any singles. They just kind of like just said like, okay, here's the album. And
Nice.
like from the very first notes of Yours, I just absolutely love this one.
Oh yeah.
Because like you mentioned, it's very unlike anything that they've done in the past. And me being more of a fan of kind of like the kind of like dream pop, like I know Grimes is a weirdo, but like I like her music, so like I like other albums in the genre, but like I think this one is really like really well done. Personally, I think Shanghai is the best song. But I think like like how every song is kind of built around like this kind of synth loop of
Yeah.
like they just kind of like keep building off of like with different instruments and with different like whatever. like different vocal melodies, different time signatures, everything. It is really cool to hear. And again, like the polymeter, like you mentioned, it's just so unlike anything that they've done and anything they have done since, apart from maybe one song. Like it's
Yeah.
very unique as far as their albums go, and I think it's just an incredible listen. And I mean, again, I don't think it's a good place to start, but like if you're into stuff like Grimes or MGMT or like
Mhm.
any kind of like, I mean, you
Yeah.
gave the definition of dream pop really, but any kind of like,
Pop.
like yeah, like well, not just pop, but like kind of more like atmospheric pop, any pop that has like more substance to it.
Hmm. Art
Like
pop.
art pop, yeah. Then 100% this is worth listening to. And definitely one of my favorites that they've put out.
Yeah. I honestly I do think if that like if someone was like just a normal type of person that didn't even really like rock or metal or psychedelic or progressive music and was going to start with King Gizzard, I could maybe say Butterfly 3000 is a place where they could start. Like I really think that pretty much anybody who listened to this, there's something like undeniable about how catchy the synth parts are in particular.
Yeah.
I guess that's the thing about this is like the synths are the lead, they're the hook. The
Yeah.
vocals, there are some vocal hooks too, but every song has like a synth hook that's just like,
Well,
Jesus, that's a hook.
well, I mentioned like Shanghai, like you said like the synths are kind of the lead, but I think the best part of Shanghai is the like the second half of like the verse kind of vocal, like the okay, let me taste my dick.
Oh yeah,
I love that. It's so good.
yeah.
But yeah, you're totally right. Where like the synth is like they wrote these like insane hooks for like every single song, and
They
even
just
songs where like
loop them too, but
yeah,
it doesn't get annoying and repetitive because they change enough over top of it, and they have crazy polyrhythm artistic shit going on that you're just like mind blown the whole time.
yeah,
Even if they loop the same synth beat, it's like wow, this is still great.
but also like even where songs like where the like loop itself isn't necessarily like on blast. It's like I'm thinking specifically of like the last song, Butterfly 3000.
Yeah,
Like the synth at the end just goes fucking hard, and it like just like ends the album on such a really like high note that like I don't think they've ever done anything like maybe apart from like some stuff on Polygon that like is as like sonically like that thick with like synths and like different sounds.
mm-hmm.
It's like yeah, it's really cool to hear. And um I guess now would be a good time to bring up the mediocre remix album Butterfly 3001, which
Yeah.
is
Uh,
I didn't like it.
no, I didn't like it. I don't think it needs to exist. I think
Yeah.
it's a waste of time. But I mean, it's not terrible. Like I could listen to it, but
Mm.
I'd rather just listen to any album that they make that's a real album. I don't think they need to
Yeah.
do remix albums.
Like I don't think I've ever actually heard it all the way through. Like there were a couple songs I thought were like kind of cool.
Mm.
But like it just kind of ended up being like worse versions of songs that I already liked. So I'm just kind of like, okay, like why?
Yeah, all the
Uh,
versions that are on the original album are better. What's the point of releasing a remix album where it's like, hey, we got these collaborators to make shittier versions of our songs?
I mean, I mean, back in like 2012, I was into like Skrillex and shit. So like,
Oh God.
hey, well, okay, first of all, you judge, but like that was the style at the time.
Yeah.
And like I don't know, to me, like it was always like remixes of like songs that I already liked was always seemed kind of pointless. So like I don't know,
Yeah.
just I don't know, but Butterfly, I think it's a very interesting and unique album. And it's funny that you mentioned people that like aren't really into rock, but like rock was like pop music back in like the 80s and 90s, right? So like I think that Gizzard has enough like music that would be considered kind of like rocky, like pop that could like fit into like it's like, oh, if you like rock music from the 80s and then you would like this song or whatever, like
Yeah,
I feel like they have stuff like that would be like,
for sure.
accessible to people that are like familiar with like, pop music throughout the decades,
Yeah, I agree.
because they do take a lot of inspiration from like, other like older rock artists. So
Yeah, yeah, they've probably got a lot of interesting influences. I would love to hear what all the things are that they like to listen to. And on that note, we could jump over to Made in Timeland, which is their 19th album. And it's also
ooh,
very different from everything that they've done before.
ooh,
What do you think of
Timeland.
this one?
Well, it's only two songs. It's kind of hard to talk about like as a like full album. Um,
Yeah, it's very short.
yeah, it's very short. Each track is 15 minutes long.
Yeah, the songs are long, but the album's short.
Yeah, it's two sides. This one it's at 33 RPM. The only one of their albums that I know of it's like that.
Mhm.
It's it was designed to be interlude music,
Yeah.
is what it is, and you can really feel that, especially on the first track, which is just called Timeland, where it just like feels like just like this electronic kind of like experimentation that they were doing.
Mhm.
I like it enough that like it works as kind of like background music, but I feel like as like when compared to the rest of their discography, it doesn't quite match up, especially because like whenever they get like a cool kind of thing going, the track tends to kind of like stop and like go in a different direction.
Yeah.
It's worse if it's more of a problem on like the first album or on the first track. Smoke and Mirrors, I think, is a bit more cohesive. That's the second track on here. Smoke and Mirrors also features vocals, which I think is really cool.
Yes.
Some rap vocals, which we'll see later on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that generally, like, it is what it is, which was meant to be interlude music, and that's fine. But I feel like this album kind of broke the fandom's brain a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They were
because
ready for an EDM album, basically. Electronic.
not that. Because when it came out, or like sorry, at the start of the pandemic, when Gizzard was doing kind of promotion for a concert movie, I guess you would call it, called Chunky Shrapnel. Um, they did a Reddit AMA, Ask Me Anything, where they like had their like username be Made in Timeland.
Yeah.
And historically, they always had their usernames be like something that was kind of a clue for the next album. Like
Right.
when they were talking about fishies, their thing was self-immolate. And I think or no, it was auto cremate, sorry.
Mhm.
And I think one of their newest ones, like they always have kind of a clue. I can't remember what it is, but yeah, so like their one for this one was like Made in Timeland. So like, it kind of made people be like, oh, like what's Timeland, whatever. Um, then there were like leaks and stuff of like, like master files that someone had on their computer and like all this stuff. And it just got like super overhyped. And I feel like by the time it actually came out, like it was just kind of like, oh, like it's interlude music. Like that's literally what it is. And they released it without like any fanfare or whatever on like their website, just like, oh yeah, like here it is. And I thought that was kind of cool. Like they only released it physically.
Oh,
The
yeah, it's
version
not
that I
on
have,
Spotify.
yeah, the version that I have like on my iPod, on my like iTunes, whatever, is one that I ripped myself from this vinyl. And
Oh. Yeah, I had to
um,
find a torrent because like I can't listen to this on Spotify.
yeah,
I'm a
it's
bad person. So
but yeah, I think well, if people want like, I mean, you can't add it to the fucking playlist, but if like best song on here is Smoke and Mirrors, hands down. Because I think the last like 5 minutes of that song are so good. um, but yeah, that's but like I said, it is what it is, and it's not really an actual album, which is fine, I guess.
yeah, it's kind of weird. It's This is like their electronic album, but I'll say the word trancy again because it does that. But it's got that EDM influence, but still experimenting, still progressive with two 15-minute long epics. And what I found is that like the tracks seem to have like this metronome pulse going through them the whole time, but then they otherwise sound like they might just be like clips and outtakes from various song ideas that didn't make other albums, and they just kind of mash them together. Like there's a lot of in all the songs, there's like these parts that don't seem to relate and aren't cohesive with each other at all, and they're just like jammed together. But then they have this like metronome pulse, so they're all at the same tempo, so it just kind of flows.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah, exactly.
That.
Yeah, they have
Yeah.
like wood blocks and some like the actual sound of the metronome changes too. Like
Yeah.
sometimes it sounds like a wood block, sometimes it sounds like a more electronic metronome, but it
Yeah, and like sometimes like it's like the instruments are played at like 90 BPM, sometimes they're played at 60, sometimes they're played at like 120. Like
yeah,
it really like it switches it up. Like I think there's a
there
section in like
always is
the
there always some ratio to it where like
yeah,
the pulse of the metronome might fall, and sometimes the pulse falls on like an and, but then other times it falls on like a strong beat, but it always
yeah.
falls somewhere musically with
I think that in like the first song, like the Timeland song, like there's a part like where it's like there's like a bass loop playing or something, and like it's like 1, 2, and 3, like
Mhm.
it's like something like that. It's like, but it's like it's not like it's like a constant kind of like meter, but it's not like
Yeah,
yeah. It's really cool the way they do that, but
yeah, it's weird.
yeah,
And
I
to me,
really like that though. I think it's a really interesting way to do that kind of like you know constant kind of pulse thing because it's like time is like
yeah,
a clock, whatever. But like
it's an interesting way. I'm just speculating here, but like I'm assuming it's just like leftover shit that they couldn't fit into other songs, and it's like an
uh
interesting way to like use up your leftovers and like try to blend it out. Like they just made the tempos all work, and then they did this. But maybe I'm guessing.
see, I think it was more like they had this written because if you look at the back, because they lost a member of the band in 2019. Like he just left to like work on like the record label, but like he's
Mhm.
on the back. I think
Mhm.
that's him right there, Eric. Um, like he was yes, like they wrote this like a while ago, and I think they were planning on having like a whole like festival thing. And I think this, like I said, I think this was meant to be kind of like interlude music. Um, and they eventually did have that festival, this like kind of in like April, like I think it was February or March,
Mhm.
where they they had like a big clock. They played a couple like marathon sets, and then like these two songs were the kind of like in between of the marathon sets.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's why I kept saying that it's kind of like interlude music.
Mm.
Just like something to kind of like keep the audience like listening while they're like
Love
taking a
it.
bathroom, a water break, whatever, and then just like coming back.
Yeah, I actually like the first track, Timeland. Like to me, the other thing about this album is it's kind of got an instrumental vibe to me. I know technically there are vocals on the album, but they're few
Huh.
and far between, and there aren't many lyrics. So for me, it's almost like this is their instrumental album. And yeah, it's hard to pick a favorite song because there's only two songs. They're roughly equal. They sound pretty much the same. But I'm not too big on the rap sound, honestly. I gotta be
Uh,
real. So I pick Timeland as my favorite, and but it does. They both sound like a handful of unrelated songs strung together with that metronome pulse playing like weird, like playing and dancing around the pulses of the parts. But it's pretty cool. I like the second song too. Like I like how it starts with the smoke and mirror starts with the triplet feel shuffle, and about 5 minutes in you get that the rapping starting, which is the
smoke
first
and mirrors
glimpse.
disappear in my base.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course you hear more of that on Omnium Gatherum, which we could jump
Okay,
to.
well, first of all, there's the ending of Smoke and Mirrors, which is fucking dynamite. First of all,
They
Quit the chit chatter, backstabber, face up to
they
the matter
bring
on a
back
silver platter.
one of the main riffs from the first track, Timeland,
Yep.
near the end of Smoke and Mirrors. And
Yeah,
that
the dun 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 dun
yeah,
dun
that
dun
riff
dun
is
dun dun
so
dun dun.
sick. Like you would hear that at like a club, at like a EDM club, and it would be like everyone would be fist pumping. It's just so good.
Hey DJ for Brennan's wedding, Timeland, fucking get it? Spin that shit.
If we're gonna have a psychedelic wedding, we're gonna all be on LSD, and this would be the thing to listen to.
Okay,
for
well, if you're not giving me free LSD, I don't know why I'm fucking coming to your wedding. So like that's
sure.
hey, you brought it up, not me. So like that's
Yeah, the rap stuff on here though is so like Beastie Boys sounding. It's
yeah, sorry, you had this segue planned out, I think, and I totally ruined it. Sorry.
yeah. Let's jump into Omnium Gatherum, another album where they rap on a couple songs. And I guess I'll jump in with my thoughts here. This one is like a mixed bag. Like we talked about how Gumboot Soup and Oddments are the other two that are kind of like this, where they're not cohesive concepts in sonic continuity. They're more jumping around from song to song in a mixed bag. So it's pretty cool. Could be a good place to start if you want to hear psychedelic rock songs, progressive songs, folk songs. There's metal. There's a couple of metal songs, a couple of hip hop, which is new, other than in Timeland. They didn't really do hip hop stuff before. They got electronic, they got pop stuff. So really big mixed bag here. I don't know about the hip hop stuff. Like, I think it's cool that they tried it, but like, it's not for me. I've kind of got over my Eminem phase, and like once I hit grade 10 or something, and I to me, I just can't. Hip hop's just not my thing anymore. My favorite song here would be Dripping Tap, the first song of the album. And yeah, they opened the album with an epic progressive psychedelic jam that's like 18 minutes long. So that's pretty crazy. And then we've got, thrash metal songs like Gaia that would have fit right in on Infest the Rat's Nest. That's probably my second favorite. And it has some cool timing stuff. Some parts are in 9 beats. It's got that Meshuggah influence that I think, like,
I think the whole song's in 9, isn't it?
Maybe
like a really fast, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah,
4,
maybe
5.
that's what it is. It's got a cool vibe. Predator X is the other thrash metal song. Again, kind of progressive, like really weird, like polymeter odd shit, like Meshuggah style stuff.
You keep saying Meshuggah, it's starting to sound weird to me now.
Yeah, you gotta listen to the band to know what I'm talking about.
I'm not going to.
I like some of the other songs too, the like Garden Goblin. I think that's one where like the lyrics stand out to me, and it reminds me. I think a lot of the songs in here remind me of things from other albums. Like the Garden Goblin reminds me of Spider and Me from Sketches of Brunswick East, and it's just a fun song about a garden goblin. And Magenta Mountain reminds me of Butterfly 3000. You probably noticed other themes to other albums, so I'll let you jump in now.
Let me tell you. Okay, well, first of all, I actually really like this album. Again, I think I mentioned this earlier, but the more that I listen to these kind of like eclectic, like not quite B-sides, but like kind of albums, the more I like them. And I've been listening to this one constantly for the last month. Since it came out, exactly a month ago. Cool. We're recording this on May 22nd, by the way. And
it'll probably be published online in 6 months.
Because it'll take you so long to stitch these parts together and and record your own fake commercials for Spotify or whatever.
I like to put the titles of the albums below and stuff. But I'm probably not gonna do like the background music. It's just too much.
Okay, fine. That's fine. But Yeah, I mean, just like I don't think there's any song on here that I like dislike. I do think there are like definitely weaker songs. Like I think like Presumptuous is kind of like a very like Santana kind of feeling like
Mhm.
song. I'm not really a big fan of that one. But I still don't dislike it.
Yeah.
Um like Persistence, it has kind of like a cool vibe to it, but like I feel like it's kind of like a step down after like Eveless Man, Garden Goblin, and Blame It on the Weather. I feel like that's kind of a step down from like those three songs.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, there's definitely some filler on here, I think.
yeah, to me, the rap songs like Sadie Sorceress, or the two rap songs, Sadie Sorceress and
Grim Reaper.
Grim Reaper, yeah, those I really like those. Like I started laughing in like a good way because like Sadie Sorceress like literally just is a Beastie Boys song.
Yeah, so Beastie Boys. And didn't they get like his grandma to do like the
Yeah, like Ambrose's grandma like just did like the it's a Sadie Sorceress like
yeah.
part.
It's kind of cool, but yeah, I
I,
guess maybe
I, I
I'll come
think
around to this whole hip hop thing. I don't
to
know.
me I really like it. Because it's just again it's so different to like anything that they've done previously, and it's so unexpected, especially after like a handful of songs that really harken back to like what they've done previously. Like Dripping Tap is very like Head on Pill. Like you said, Magenta Mountain is very Butterfly.
2000.
Um Kepler 22b, you didn't mention that one, but it's very like the sample that they use like of the piano and all that stuff is very Sketches. Gaia is very reminiscent of Rat's Nest. Ambergris is um, kind of like the slower parts of Gumboot. Then just Sadie Sorceress comes out of fucking nowhere, and it's just so like hilariously out of place, and it's so good. I really like it. But then you have like Eveless Man. You mentioned Garden Goblin being just like a fun song, and Blame It on the Weather being like a
Yeah.
like I think those three are like a really fun kind of like return to form, like kind of like look back at like like Evil's Man like is like the lyrics are about like Rupert Murdoch, but like
Mm.
it's it sounds like it could be off of like like KG or LW or like apart from not being microtonal, but like like it has like a cool vibe to it where it's just like there's like some like really psych parts. There's some like
Mm.
kind of slower parts that are really cool. Um Predator X, I feel like it's kind of a bit of a filler song, honestly. But then I feel like the last three songs, Red Smoke, Candles, and The Funeral, I think are a really cool way to close the album out. But yeah, that's just me.
Nice.
I think Magenta Mountain is the strongest track on here.
So that's your favorite?
Yeah, then
Yeah.
probably Gaia.
Yeah, nice. Okay, so you like one of the metal
Yeah.
songs at least.
Okay, well, hey, it sounds like it could be straight off of Rat's Nest, so like whatever,
Yeah.
it's fine.
I thought
Um,
Predator X sounded like Rat's Nest too.
it does, yeah, but it sounds like more like the scrapped version of Automation that they had. You know that
Mm.
I don't. Oh, you never listened to the demos, but like on the demos, there's a scrapped version of Automation where they had like the same lyrics, but it was like meant to be a Rat's Nest song. Um,
Okay.
but
Cool.
it sounds more like that, where it's just kind of like, oh yeah, I could see how this would fit on there, but like it doesn't sound like it would be as good as the tracks that are like there that they gave us. Um, I feel like oh yeah, also Ambergris sounds very much like a Ween song.
Mm.
There's a song off of White Pepper, the Ween album that I always think of, but I can't remember what the song's called. So just Brennan, when you're editing it, put the song title right here.
If you tell me what it is, maybe I will.
Yeah, I'll text it to you. And if not, then if the song title isn't right here, then I didn't actually text Brennan the song title.
All right.
All right, so those are the 20 King Gizzard albums.
Woo,
Yay!
we went through all 20. Now we have the rapid fire. Maybe you can start.
Oh
Go.
God, I was thinking maybe we would just wait until like do a second part because the timer's counting down right now and it's terrifying me.
Oh, I think we could both rapid fire 20 albums in 4 minutes. Okay, I'll start. I can do it.
Oh,
I
good
can
Lord.
definitely do it in 2 minutes.
Oh
So
God.
My 20, I'm going to do it from worst to best. Number 20, 12 Bar Brews from 2012. Number 19, Oddments from 2014.
Boo.
Number 18, Quarters from 2015.
Boo.
And that's where I really start to like them. So like the first two that I mentioned, don't really need to listen to them again. Quarters, I like it. I'll listen to it again. Float Along, Fill Your Lungs is my number 17. That's from 2013. My number 16 is I'm in Your Mind, Fuzz from 2014. My number 15 is Paper Mache Dream Balloon, their 7th album from 2015, which I really like. And I think it's pretty good. Made in Thailand is going to be my number 14. Very weird. I feel weird putting it this high, but like it's kind of more interesting than the other ones. It should probably be lower though. My number 13, this is where they get awesome. Like 13 and up, like they're all so close, like really good albums. Sketches of Brunswick East from 2017. My number 12 is Infest the Rat's Nest. Number 11, Eyes Like the Sky from 2013. My number 10, Omnium Gatherum from 2022. Number 9, KG from 2020. Number 8, Gumboot Soup 2017. Number 7, Flying Microtonal Banana from 2017. Number 6, Nonagon Infinity from 2016.
Oh, really?
Number 5, Fishing for Fishies from 2019. Number 4, LW from 2021. Number 3, Murder of the Universe 2017. Number 2, Polygon Dwanaland 2017. And number 1 is Butterfly 3000 from 2021. All right. I don't know. Can you do it in 2 minutes? Let's go, Zandy.
No, I can't. I have reactions to
right.
what you just said.
Okay, you can react, and then we'll have to go to commercial.
Wow,
break.
that is a very strange list, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
As to like what was your like not your favorite one, because I love Butterfly, but like LW at number 4 I thought was very odd.
I love it.
Nonagon at number 6, like I don't know like what that was about.
Do you think it would be higher?
In after the commercial break, we'll get to that. And yeah, I think 12 Bar Brews being last is along with Oddments is kind of egregious, honestly, but well
that's just how I feel. I did not consult any like review sites or any rankings. Like,
neither did I. Don't.
Okay.
I feel like you're kind of insinuating that my opinion is based off of like court of public opinion, which it totally isn't. But that's
all right. Well, we'll go to commercial and we'll come back and we'll hear Zandy's favorites. Toodles.
Hey, are you tired of getting sand kicked in your face because the headphones that you wear make you look like a dork? And then when you try to write an angry letter to the people who kicked that sand in your face, they can't understand you because your grammar is worse than that of a kindergartner who can't even read yet? And then they can't even receive your letter because you put the wrong postage on it, like some sort of person who doesn't know how the mail system works? So then it got sent back to you, but then you can't open up the letter again because you're just so weak and malnourished because of your lack of vitamins. Well, do I have the product for you? It's exactly what you need to stop that exact situation from happening. And let me tell you, I use it all the time, and it hasn't happened to me for at least 8 hours, and it's been so freeing and fun. So you should get this product. Enter the promo code Brennen420 at the website listed below. I'm gonna put it up here in the ad, and just go for it. It'll change your life.
All right, we're back from commercial break, and thanks to our wonderful sponsors for that. And we're on to Zandy's top 20. King Gizzard. Well, we're gonna hear her worst to best.
Yeah.
King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard albums.
First of all, nice save there. Thank you. I appreciate that. Second of all,
Thank you.
no, okay, so you can also criticize me to high heavens for what I'm about to say. So a lot of my stuff is kind of more broken up into like tiers, more so like definitive numbers. So I'll kind of give like a loose kind of ranking, but like it's more, yeah, like based off of tiers, like I said. So D tier, there's only one album. It's Eyes Like the Sky. That's my number 20. Going up to C tier with 19, and 18 would be Murder of the Universe and Flying Microtonal Banana, respectively.
Oh, I'm shocked.
Yeah, see, that's where I because you had Murder of the Universe really high up. You had it at like
number 3.
3. Yeah, see,
I love it.
it's just the altered bass that really, it's like a third of the album, and it just like really brings me down. I can't do it. I'm sorry. And again, like I said, with Microtonal, like it's just such a, it's like an entire album that's kind of a slog for the most part. I don't think we mentioned Billabong Valley, but Billabong Valley slaps. That's another song that I really like. But anyway, so moving on up to B tier. What are we at? 17?
Yeah.
So I have Made in Timeland.
Yeah.
16 is Quarters. 15 is Float Along, Fill Your Lungs. 14 is Oddments, and 13 is Gumboot Soup. Again, these are all like my B tier ones. These are kind of like pretty well interchangeable, maybe apart from Timeland.
Makes sense.
And I think like all of these ones are really good and like really solid albums, but like have a couple kind of points that kind of bring them down, like little kind of like annoyances, I'll say.
Yeah.
Moving on up here to my A tier. These are ones where I would like say pretty much any one of these is a good place to start with King Gizzard. And these are all ones that are also like pretty well interchangeable. So 12 would be I'm in Your Mind Fuzz. Then LW and KG. Like I mentioned before, KG is kind of bolstered by Intersport, and LW is kind of brought down by See Me. So like that's my kind of like my justification there. Then is Omnium Gatherum, which I think has a lot of solid songs, but I feel like is maybe a little disjointed, maybe a little like too eclectic to be like brought up a little bit more. Then is Sketches of Brunswick East. See, in my kind of like tier list here, I have them kind of like flipped around because but like I said during the Sketches discussion, looking at the track list, I'm like, yeah, shit, that's really high up there album. And then my number 7 is 12 Bar Brews. Like I said, this album hits really hard, even though there's like maybe 1 or 2 songs I don't particularly care for. It still just hits really hard and just has this energy about it that is not really replicated anywhere else in their discography. And yeah, like I said, the last like 6 albums are pretty well like swap them around. So Brennen, if you want in your mind, 12 Bar Brews is under Mind Fuzz. If you still want to preserve our friendship, that's fine. So now my S tier, these are like my top 6 albums that I think are pretty indelible unless they release something that like really like hits me in the soul. So number 6 is Infest the Rat's Nest. I've really come around to it since my kind of initial where was Rat's Nest in yours?
It was number, I think it was no, it was 12. Wow.
For your favorite thrash metal album of all time? Really?
Yeah, because I like their other albums better.
Okay, fair enough. So number 5, this top 5 has been kind of like in place since last year. Number 5 is Fishing for Fishies. Number 4 is Paper Mache Dream Balloon. Again, I just think I really like the kind of like lighter, kind of more like airy side of King Gizzard, which is really well exemplified in my number 3 album, which is Butterfly 3000. Because it's got that kind of like light airiness to it. It's super electronic, which I really dig, and it's got that like the polyrhythms and like the complexity that I really like from other albums on my list later on. I'm just realizing my tattoo here is going to spoil it. So Brennen, when you edit this, can you just like blur out my arm for the entire video? That'd be great. And my number 2 album is the first one that I ever listened to from them is Nonagon Infinity. I fucking love the gimmick of this album. I love how, every song leads into the next one, and the last one leads into the first one, and it's just a really solid album musically, lyrically, just everything. Even though I do have nitpicks about it, but I think that comes more from just like over familiarity. And of course, my number 1 album is Polygon Dwanaland, an album that I literally cannot find a single flaw in. So that is reactions, Brennen.
Well, I love Polygon Dwanaland. I love your number 1, and I love your number 2, Nonagon Infinity, and I love your number 3, Butterfly 3000. So I don't think we could disagree on any of those. I'm sad that you don't share my love for Murder of the Universe. It is dark and like evil and grimy and slimy and ugly, but it's like crafted so wonderfully that it's supposed to be that way. So I think they really achieved what they were going for. And I'm shocked how much you like 12 Bar Brews. That one I don't understand why you like it so much, but I guess everybody likes, some people like the raw lo-fi.
Yeah. I think in the Ween fandom it's called the brown sound. But yeah, I don't know about Murder of the Universe though. I think it's just the Tale of the Altered Beast that really brings it down for me. It's because I actually I love the Lord of Lightning section. I love how it connects back to like 3 different albums. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, it's the feeling that I get when I listen to the Altered Beast, and it's the kind of visceral disgust I feel when I listen to Hantayumi. Even though I think that musically that whole part slaps, like I think that it's just like this, like just picturing like this kind of like making this vomit machine just really kind of just like
that's funny. I actually really love, like, the Altered Beast is probably my favorite part of the album, which is kind of funny. The other thing I was shocked about was how low Flying Microtonal Banana was.
Oh yeah.
That one I was a bit surprised by, but everything else kind of made sense to me and was what I expected.
I mean, like I said, like Microtonal, like it, like there's a couple songs on there that I really like Rattlesnake, Nuclear Fusion. But I just feel like most of the album is very kind of like monotonous to me. But that's, yeah, it doesn't fill me with visceral disgust like Murder of the Universe does. So that's a plus, I guess.
Yeah. All right. Well, cool ranking. Hopefully, some people watching this. Hopefully, someone watches it, and hopefully they get into King Gizzard, or if they're into King Gizzard, hopefully they rediscover their love for them or check out more of their discography.
Before we go, what would be your recommendations for like starting points for the banks? Because we talked about them kind of like intermittently throughout the whole thing, but like just to kind of wrap things up, like where would be a good starting point in your opinion?
Oh, that's a good question. So I think on average, I want to say Nonagon Infinity. But if you want to hear something weird and like microtones, maybe Flying Microtonal Banana. But then if you want to actually understand the variety that King Gizzard brings, probably Omnium Gatherum. And then if you're more of like a dream pop fan, Butterfly 3000. So I gave 4 starting points. But I think there's other answers. Like you said, KG and LW. I think those would be perfectly fine to start with.
Yeah, I
Where
think
start is don't start with Invest the Rat's Nest because that will give you the completely wrong idea. They're not a metal band. Don't start with Fishing for Fishies because they're not a blues rock boogie band. So definitely don't start with those two.
don't start with Timeline because they're not a fucking like
Don't start with
techno band.
Timeland. Yeah, those are the three you definitely don't start with. And I'll hand it over to you. Where do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned KG like that. You mentioned that I mentioned KG and LW as a good starting point. Because I think like you get like that experimentation with like the microtones and just kind of a good. I said vertical slice a lot in the last part, but like a good just kind of section of like what they're about, like without it being too kind of eclectic, like something like Omnium or Oddments or Gumboot are. So KGLW, just for a good kind of like section of what they're about. If you want some like good psych stuff, Mind Fuzz or Nonagon are good places to start. And I think those are like the four. Well, I mean, KG and LW are one album to me, so like those are the three kind of good starting spots I think for.
You agree with my places on where not to start?
Yeah, pretty much.
I guess don't start with Sketches of Brunswick East because that's their jazz album. It's not really.
Yeah, but unless you want to go straight to Quarters, in which case, fucking go for it.
Yeah, probably don't start with Quarters either.
But yeah, so those are our recommendations, I guess. And how do you end these videos, Brennen? I don't know what's going on here.
Thanks for watching. Until next time.
That's a good sign off. You use that. Hi, it's me, regular Zandy. Brennen asked me to do the Patreon reading to thank some of his patrons. So this episode, Brennen would like to thank Brandon, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Jeebs, Samantha, Justin, Daniels, Fergie, My Humps, Will I Am, Apple the App, Satan, Green Eggs and Ham, A Bible Salesman, Boggs, Pumping, Dumping, OSCER, Will I Am, the entire cast of Hamilton, Jerkin, Victoria Beckham, David Beckham, Wade, Bitcoin, Dogecoin, A Basket of Fruit, My Eternal Shame, The Electoral College, Blurs, Scrp, Drrrr, Screech, Will I Am Shakespeare, Duty, Blade, Sharpie, Craig. Will I Am Shakespeare, Duty, Blade, Sharpie, Craig. Oh my god. Will I Am Shakespeare, Duty. Crank 2 and Marg. Thank you.